Welcome to episode 2 of the Meta Chat with MetaMatt podcast. Whether you're listening to this live on Twitter or listening after the fact on YouTube or Spotify, this is the show where you can get your daily dose of Metaverse, NFT, and Web3 content. This is the Meta Chat, which means I, of course, need a guest to chat with, so I'd like to welcome you all to Alex Davis. He is the founder of Mavryk Finance, a DeFi bank for the people. And we're going to learn how we can take part in the building of the future of finance. So how are we doing, Alex? Just tell us about Mavryk.
So Mavryk, essentially in a nutshell, I guess we'll tier up the diving into it over time throughout the call. Mavryk's essentially it's a decentralized banking ecosystem, as you said, a DeFi banking ecosystem. And the core part of, there's a lot of DeFi different protocols out there, but one of the things I noticed is that they all sort of address one specific facet of kind of like finance, and they don't really give you a all-round package. There's no credit unions out there. Credit unions are kind of not run the way they should be anyways. Mavryk sort of took an approach that all these other DeFi platforms had and said, you know what, we can build a bank with this. We didn't start off thinking, oh wow, okay, we can create this decentralized ecosystem where the stakeholders run it, but it actually ended up pivoting into this, and it's been a dramatically wild story. So essentially, Mavryk is built as a DAO. Matt, how deep are your listeners on crypto? Are they more new? Are they like degens?
Yeah, I mean, so as far as our Titan trading goes, as far as those listeners, they're very much invested in crypto. They understand futures trading, leverage trading, the whole 9 yards kind of deal.
Okay.
Yeah, you can go pretty deep.
Okay, so Mavryk's basically a DAO. For the new people here, it's a decentralized autonomous organization. Basically, think of it as a digital cooperative or co-op. So if you're from the States, it's basically like REI, but with less, hiking gear. So it's structured as a DAO, which basically means that the people who hold the tokens of Mavryk decide on different business logic and directions and which direction the protocol can go into. So let's say if we're starting off with interest rates, or we're giving out loans. So if you want to give a loan, I'll backtrack 1 second. It's structured as a DAO. The stakeholders vote on the governance options, etc., for the protocol. They do this. They don't actually vote themselves. So it's a lot bit inspired by the governance model of Tezos, which is a delegated representation type governance model, meaning each person who holds a token doesn't vote themselves. They delegate the voting weight of their token to somebody else, and that person votes for them. So in this case, they delegate their votes to a node. We call our nodes satellites. And the satellites vote on behalf of their delegates. This makes it easier for users because they don't actually have to go into some of the deep dive on, technical stuff or the business logic if they're just, holding the token, for example. DAOs have a problem with voting. A lot of people don't turn up for the actual voting. Everyone wants to own the token and trade it, and not many people actually want to participate. So people can own and trade the token. If they want to participate in governance, they just have to, lock stake and, basically stake it and delegate it. So they delegate to the nodes. And this is where it gets really interesting on how Mavryk is more than just a DAO. So our satellite nodes, as we call them, it works kind of like a proof of stake model, similar to Tezos or Cosmos or Polkadot, etc., Solana. The nodes validate the governance. They vote on the governance protocol, all the business logic, what collateral options we're going to have, etc. But they also do something else. On a proof of stake model, they would validate transactions of the layer 1 blockchain. On Mavryk, they don't validate transactions because we're a DApp. They sign the price feeds for a decentralized oracle. So if you kind of think about our governance is inspired by Tezos, you could think of our node or satellite system as kind of being inspired by Chainlink. So it's Chainlink nodes that sign the price feeds and for data feeds that vote on governance for the DAO. Now this gets really interesting because now you've got a bank a DAO structure where the token holders don't have to be bothered with voting, but they can. And you've got decentralized price feeds that you don't have to rely on now. Forget a centralized source. You don't have to rely on a third-party decentralized source, as a lot of DeFi apps on ETH rely on Chainlink. Now we're starting to in-house. We're bringing all that value of the data feeds coming in-house. So our first lending product is basically an algorithmic stablecoin similar to DAI. You lock up Tezos or any Tezos-based tokens in a vault. It's a non-custodial vault, so we don't have access to it. And you can mint your own stablecoin called USDM. The revenues from the stability, which, for example, an idea of governance, On MakerDAO, the token holders have to directly vote themselves in order to, raise or the interest rate, the stability fee is what it's called, for their lending. Now, this is kind of ridiculous because how many of us actually out here are economic majors, right? Not so many of us. So
I actually am an economics major.
So,
Oh.
wrong crowd to say that in, but typically, if
Sorry.
your average like crypto investor is not, or token holder is not, is not an economics major. So, they want to hold these tokens. They believe in the long-term trajectory of them, or it's speculative for whatever reason that you're in it. But, should they really be like thinking about the long-term, consequences of raising interest rates by 1% or 2%, right? So what we've essentially done is now that vote is delegated to curators, the satellites, who can vote on that. They get more into the nitty gritty of how the protocol operates. And on Mavryk, we don't actually have a vote on the stability fee. It's an algorithm. So if the peg goes up, if the stablecoin loses its peg to the dollar, it like to the upside, the stability fee will automatically lower in order to essentially make the cost of money cheaper. More people take out loans, flood the market with more stable coins, and the peg gets back to from 5 to 1. If it goes below, essentially, if it goes $1.95, then the algorithmic stability fee rises, and it makes it more expensive to actually borrow money. People buy back USDM in order to pay back their loans, and it brings the stablecoin back to parity. So essentially, we've built this kind of banking ecosystem that all the users control. And it comes to the point where once we deploy it, we don't control it because the satellites do. And we don't even profit from the lending that we do because all the revenues from those stability fees roll into an on-chain treasury controlled by the satellites. So that was a much deeper kind of chaotic dive into Mavryk. But the main facets are it's a banking DAO ecosystem where you delegate your votes to a satellite. The satellite votes on governance and signs the price feeds for a decentralized oracle, and all the revenues from our different lending products that we will build. We've got our algorithmic stablecoin and future products planned, roll into an on-chain treasury.
Okay, yeah, the token, the governance is something that I just wanted to ask about because I know that from what I've read, the MVK is like the governance token, so one token equals one vote after you stake. As far as those as far as the voting goes, I know you said that, like the people who actually have the who are invested, it's not just them. It has to do with the satellites. How does that determine? How is the satellites determined? Is like someone buys the token from the original holder and then they get to vote, or I was just a little unclear as far as who is voting in the DAO, I guess.
So the way it works essentially is that there's going to be people who want to passively be a part of this platform. They bought MVK on the market. They thought it was a cool protocol, and then there are going to be people who actually want to actively participate in the protocol. And so there are two main people here in terms of who votes and how to vote. So a regular user just buys MVK, stakes it, and delegates their voting rights to a satellite. The stakeholder themselves doesn't actually vote. They bought MVK off the market, they staked it, their voting rights go off to a satellite, and now that satellite votes on their behalf. In order to run a satellite, so on the other side of this, a person needs to purchase or mine in different ways enough MVK to stake it as a security bond, like a security deposit, and then they can actually operate it, which is receiving delegations, voting on governance, and they need to set up the actual oracle, which will take some right in the beginning. No Raspberry Pi, but it's small beans. So you've got these two kind of facets. You get people who buy MVK, stake it, and delegate it, and then you get people who put up a security deposit, run a satellite, receive the delegations from people, then with the voting weight of their own tokens and the delegated tokens to them, they vote.
I understand. So that way, because like you said before, the crypto traders, so like the random degen who just is buying and trading and trying to see how to make a quick buck, they're not going to be involved in the DAO because why? Like almost like why should they? Because they don't really care about any of that. They just care about making the quick buck. But they could stake it, and then someone who does have all the capacity, I guess, for for the vote, they're the ones who can then vote for the DAO.
Yeah, so you get people who like to day trade, like or swing trade on centralized exchanges, and you get people who are like fundamental value investors. But those guys might not want to take the time out of their day to actually participate in governance. So if you believe in the long-term vision of it, there are different actually staking your MVK earns yield for you. So that's a major factor as to why people will stake. But It's the people who will day trade and swing trade will probably do that on a centralized exchange, and those tokens do not get to vote. If they're not staked in the platform, they don't get to vote. If they're staked, then you get to vote.
I like that because I know, like, with the banking as is right now, you have to deal with there's like a whole bunch of stuff, and I'm reading here on your site, like, for instance, hidden fees, high interest penalties, along all the paperwork, just the time that goes into getting a loan from a traditional bank. Because you just have to go through all these different hoops and ladders to appease the those who are in charge of those banks. But it's nice because this is a DAO. You have all that going on. How like when it comes to the fees and the interest and penalties and all that, how can Mavryk, I guess, get rid of like the high interest rates, the penalties, for late fees or whatever it might be like that, or all those hidden fees that we had to worry about with traditional banking?
So there are no. Well, first off, it's all going to be open source when we launch. So I know that doesn't really help to someone who's not a developer. It doesn't help me. I'm not a developer. My developers are probably listening to this laughing because we always joke about this. But open source code is wonderful, but you kind of have to rely on someone else checking that code to make sure that it does what it does, and that's true for every platform. But aside from that, all of our code will be available so that you can see it. Third-party people can take a look, and you'll know that there are no hidden fees just from the basic code level. Second thing is we put a lot of time and effort, and Sam can say something about this, into indexing all the data that's going on chain, so you can see what's going on. Another thing is there are no late penalties, so the loans are over collateralized. You don't have to get a credit check. You basically put, if you want like a $5,000 loan, you can take, let's say, $15,000 worth of Tezos, lock it in a vault, and take a $5,000 loan. So that basically means, obviously, if you put in more value than the loan that you took against in an asset, you're not going to need a credit check because we're not so worried you're going to run off with the money. If you run off with $5,000, but we're holding $15,000 worth of Tezos, it's not such a problem. But so there's no credit checks. But on the flip side, there are no minimum payments or anything like that, because as long as we hold your collateral, there's no risk to the lending protocol.
Right. And so for the collateral, I know those are different assets that can be borrowed against the USDM stable coin. So like for that collateral, I know it goes in that Mavryk vault. As far as that goes, do we have to be worrying about like capital gains tax, or like, let's just say, because you're saying these are the collateral assets? It could be like cryptocurrency, right?
Yeah, so it's all going to be on-chain crypto, Tezos-based assets specifically, at least for the beginning. And this is really dependent on your jurisdiction, right? So but for the most part, if you don't sell something, don't pay capital gains on it. So this is another reason why a lot of people like to take loans on their assets, whether it's a house, an exotic car, collectible car, or art, for example, stock. So if you sell your stock, you have to pay capital gains. Even Elon Musk right now didn't actually put up $44 billion of cash for Twitter. He took out two massive loans, I think, to make up like 30 billion of it. I think only 14 or 20 came from him. So people don't like to sell their assets. Then they pay because then they have to pay capital gains on those sales. It's a taxable event. And another thing is, if you sell your asset to use the value in it, you then lose out on the upside if it goes up. So there's a two-pronged kind of play here, is that if you take a loan and you get cash, you extract some value out of your asset temporarily. You bought a ton of Bitcoin a while ago, or Tezos a while ago, and you want to go buy a new computer, but you don't want to put it on a credit card. So you take a loan, you don't pay capital gain, you don't have to sell your Tez, you don't pay capital gains on that. You keep your Tez because you believe it's going to go up. You go pay back your loan over time. You still have your assets, and you didn't have to pay tax on it.
Okay, that totally makes sense to me now. So and the USDM is what you get in exchange for putting up your assets into that Mavryk vault.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, cool.
And also the vaults, we don't have access to the vaults, so it's not like a bank where the bank you deposit your money into a bank account, and now it theoretically becomes the bank's money, and the bank lends it out, and they make a shit ton of money on your money. Well, you make virtually nothing. It's like 0.01%. So the vault is completely non-custodial. It's between yourself and the smart contract code. The only time that you're actually at risk is if your vault becomes too at risk, like high risk of being under collateralized, and we've got a nice little layout to show you what your risk levels are, et cetera. And obviously you shouldn't maximize the living shit out of your loan. But then again, every user has its own, our users can choose what they want to do, right? I don't recommend maximizing your loan, but if it becomes under collateralized, it can be foreclosed. But again, we've got a lot of different, kind of warnings to make sure people are protected.
Yeah, that's really interesting because I noticed, with especially with all these new crypto assets out there, a lot of people have, like you said, they bought Bitcoin at 2010, whatever. They have all these assets in cryptocurrency, but they still want to hold on to because they're still bullish long term, but they need XYZ money for whatever. It's nice now you can, using Mavryk, you can basically leverage your cryptocurrency, in exchange, basically it's a loan, but instead of like just selling your crypto and then, like you said, Bitcoin goes up from there, and now you have all this FOMO because, oh man, I sold at a 40 and now it's at 80. This way you can still get that money or still get some money from having the Bitcoin and then still keep the Bitcoin in that vault. But my question for that is, so let's say I use Bitcoin, so I keep Bitcoin, put it into the vault, and let's say Bitcoin goes up 2x. It's in the vault, so I put Bitcoin in at 40K. Do I now, once I pay off my loans, do I now get Bitcoin at 80K because it doubled in price since then, or is it only what you put in, as far as asset goes?
What you put in as your asset is what you take out as your. So if you put in, again, these are assets on Tezos, so it would be wrapped Bitcoin on Tezos, TZBTC. And so if you put in one Bitcoin at 40, it doesn't matter what its fiat price is. It doesn't matter what it's assuming. Let's take this one hypothetical example. If you put in one Bitcoin at $40 and it goes to $80,000 in this specific example, it doesn't matter what the fiat price is, because when you pay back your loan, you still get back your one Bitcoin. It can go to $2 million. You're still getting back your one Bitcoin.
You also sorry to chime in. You'll also be able to take out more USDM against the increased value of your Bitcoin. So if it dumps to 80,000, you'll be able to take out more USDM against it.
Yeah,
if that's your wish.
This could be really big especially for crypto trade. I know, like in Titan trading, especially, and NPB alerts, we have a lot of crypto traders who have, like good amounts of gains, from the alerts and just from the education, but they probably don't want to just go all cash. And this is a nice way of kind of like doing that in between of keeping your assets in crypto while at the same time not being 100% crypto, having some cash to actually spend those profits with, which I really like. But I know we were talking about Bitcoin. We're talking about all these different cryptocurrencies out there. This one is on the Tezos blockchain. Jack, are you familiar with Tezos?
Yeah, I am. I don't know a whole bunch about it, but I've traded it a bunch, and I do trade it because I know it's a good coin. I normally don't try to trade the crappy coins.
Yeah, Tezos is actually kind of a great coin for trading, because if you look at its history, people kind of give it a lot of shit for being like, it hasn't moved and gone like Solana to $100 billion valuation. But if you look at the chart, I mean, like internally, I'll give you a little background about myself in a second. But if you look at the chart, it really rides in these beautiful waves for trading.
Oh yeah, I'm pulling it up right now. It's this is one I know one of our traders, Amma Jamma, she plays it frequently, and it's beautiful channels. This is one where if you're new to trading, this would be a good one to practice on with paper trading, just to kind of get used to chart analysis and whatnot.
Yeah, it's been quite nice in that sense. It's been just very, very solid, I would say. But a little background also, there's a whole bunch of different reasons on why Tezos. I can get into that. For starters, it's proof of stake. It was one of the first proof of stake blockchains that were out there for a smart contract layer. There's on-chain governance, so there's no hard forks like on Ethereum, which is perfect for security tokens and tokenized real estate. So essentially, if you have a hard fork and you've got Tesla stock on this blockchain, if hard forks, you've got Tesla stock now on 10 tokens on network A and 10 tokens on network B. You don't get that on Tezos. We've had 9 upgrades now with no hard forks. We've actually just hot swapped our consensus mechanism. Literally, one block was ME star. The next block was Tenderbake, which was an implementation that we took from Cosmos blockchain. So that's another thing. And then also, it's functional. It's written in functional programming languages, so it's a lot more secure than other like Solidity, for example. Tezos aside, one of the things about where I come from and why we chose to build on Tezos is because I'm actually transitioning right now out of being the Chief Innovation Officer of Tezos Israel, which is an ecosystem grantee of the Tezos Foundation. So it's we kind of had this inside look of what we wanted to build in the ecosystem, what it needs. And we're not like anonymous developers. We're not an anonymous team. Our backers are Tezos bakers, people who run Tezos ecosystem divisions, directly from the foundation, like us at Tezos Israel, and other VCs like Draper Gordon-Holm, Metaverse Capital, GAF Capital in Dubai, etc. There's a whole bunch.
And so, how would one go about getting? I know like a lot of people are familiar with Ethereum, with MetaMask, or just Solana with Phantom. How would one be able to go ahead and get Tezos? Is it just through Coinbase, or is it a Trust Wallet, or?
I don't know if can you buy crypto on Trust Wallet? I have it, and I think I parked some coins there, but I don't think I bought anything there.
Yeah, I know it's like for transferring back and forth, different types of and all that.
Yeah. So I mean, it's available on Coinbase. It's available Kraken, Gemini, basically all the large exchanges, Binance, Gate, Bybit, all those, all the bigger exchanges all have, you can get it on MoonPay or Word or Ramp. I mean, Tezos is essentially available everywhere for the most part.
Good. It's not one of those like alt ones that you can only find if you put it in, buy it from one account and then exchange it like to 4 different ones, and if, finally it turns into like the one that you're looking for.
No. You don't have to go to some like random like I don't know, Ecuadorian exchange to go get Tezos. It's or New Zealand. What was it? Cryptopia. Cryptopia used to be great for altcoins until I lost everything when they went into liquidation. But it's available everywhere.
That's good. I know we have Amy from PB Alerts up here. I know that Jackal just mentioned that you've been trading Tezos for a while. You're still bullish on Tezos? Is something you would get behind a project that follows Tezos blockchain?
Oh, for sure. That is one of my actually 10 holdings. Of course, I'm scaled down right now. Everything's been so bearish overall that my positions are smaller, and I'm more in the stable coins and holding those currently. But it's definitely a top 10 for me. Yes.
And speaking of, right now it is kind of bearish, very uncertain market. But I know you in general, are very bullish overall just on crypto assets. Would you so imagine if you were here for the whole space with Mavryk, basically you could use your crypto assets to you basically put them in a vault, and in exchange you get USDM, which is a stable coin, and you can basically you can get money for your crypto assets without having to sell it. Is this something you would do? Being long term bullish on crypto, this way you can still have some money during these bear markets without having to not having to worry about selling all your assets.
Absolutely. I mean, it's fantastic because it's the best of both worlds. People who like stablecoin and those type of things and earning that extra interest on them. But, there's downside to that too. In a bull market, you're not getting the gains from, the movement of the charts. Whereas in this aspect, you get both. You get those extra, like the safe stablecoin type gains. And it's like passive income in a bear market. That's the part that's kind of perfect, is a market like this where, if you're a crypto bull, you believe in it so long term, the tokens you believe in long term, you didn't totally your positions even at this pullback. You've been in for a year, you've been in for 2 years, you're still up 1,000%, 500%, whatever it might be. And this is a way where even when you're kind of losing some of those profits because we are pulling back a little bit, you're still getting that passive income on top of it, which is huge, because that's what you're looking for in this type of market, is playing a little bit of leverage, just very small, where you're playing the short side, this and that, or B, that passive income. And this is a perfect way of not even because people at work full time, this or that, can't follow the charts. You might not want to liquidate all your positions in a market like we have now. So it's a perfect way of getting that passive income and being able to keep your positions, which kind of balances itself out a little bit.
Yeah, I wanted to add in something there. Even I probably have a problem where I don't sell when I should. So it's it's funny that you mentioned that, but there's something really interesting when it comes to taking these types of leverage positions, is that on Tezos we have something called liquidity baking. It's a little bit contentious in the community, but it's actually quite remarkable if you think about it, because it's you provide liquidity to a DEX pairing, let's say on Uniswap, for example, and Uniswap incentivizes you with their own governance token, right? So liquidity baking essentially took a decentralized exchange contract, put it up online, and the protocol level of Tezos mints new Tez with every block and incentivizes people with actual Tez to deposit liquidity to a Tezos to Bitcoin pair. So when it's protocol level incentivized, it's not even like a dApp that was built on the side. And so you take Tezos, you take TZBTC, the wrapped version of Tezos on Bitcoin, you deposit it into this DEX pair, this DEX contract for liquidity. Oh, and sorry, my dog started barking. So you deposit it into this DEX contract, and you get your LP token, right? So now you're earning, I think the percentage right now is 35% APY. So you essentially you make your 35% there, and then you can go take those LP tokens and then go take a loan against those.
I mean, that's incredible. I mean, for anyone that's newer to crypto, this or that, or anything that's kind of going over your head, which is understandable. There is a lot to crypto, blockchain, pairings, this and that. But really, kind of what he's saying in a very layman's term is you own crypto and you have like 3 or 4 or 5 different ways that crypto is making money for you. Like literally, that's it. And like what you said about you hold your crypto too long to set, that's a lot of people do that with crypto, because here's the reality, like crypto is the future. 10 years from now, this 5% pullback in 2022 will not matter because of, the projections and the scope of, if you look at a bell curve, anyone that's gone to college, a bell curve, we're in that first 10% when it comes to like the life of crypto and the expansion and this and that. So, again, for those people that are just want to own some things and aren't experienced or aren't able to trade every day or aren't the greatest at charting, these are perfect opportunities for you to, in a safe way, make some money off your money. And anyone who's not having their money work for them past the market, because in the stock market, it's like, that's it. Your trades go up and down. You have your options go up and down. You can play the short side, the long side, a little bit of leverage. That's it. Whereas with crypto, the depth of how you can expand your portfolio without having to do too much, without too much risk, this or that, is just, it's endless. So,
well, actually,
go ahead.
Sorry to chime in here, but on your point of, you can put your money, your money should work for you. I mean, because the official, CPI right now is 8.5% per year. They just printed 5 times the amount of actual money in circulation. So, it should be closer to 500. But, one of the more interesting things also is that, as part of Mavryk and part of Tezos, we're operating actually 2 Tezos validator nodes in order to make essentially the DAOs and the software development company behind its money work as well. So one of them's for the software development company, and the second one for the DAO, because it's a physical device. Yes, it requires a semblance of trust, but and we've actually funded it in the beginning, so that's another piece. But the DAO can funnel part of its fees essentially to the bakery. The bakery earns about 5.8% per year. Sorry, I had an incoming call on my phone. So the bakery earns about 5.8% a year, and that, as I said, we operate this on behalf of the DAO, and it how do I put this? We're using the income from the bakery to actually fund different things in the Tezos, in the Mavryk ecosystem as well. So for example, the gas costs for the satellite Oracle nodes on Chainlink, you actually, the Chainlink nodes pay their gas fees in ETH, and they get rewarded in Link. So you're actually kind of not burning ETH, but you're getting rid of your ETH to pay the fees, and then you're getting Link in return. So you're exposed to that volatility of Link when getting rid of your ETH. Our nodes don't have to do that because we make XTZ from the DAO's bakery. We pay the nodes basically their gas costs back in XTZ. So if a node spends 1 XTZ a week, our gas fees are really cheap on Tezos. So if you're using Ethereum, I'm sorry, but if an Oracle node pays like 1 XTZ per week on gas fees, he'll be paid back for those gas fees in the same asset in XTZ. So there's no risk to volatility in putting out that asset. However, their profits will be in MVK. So it actually has like a really big benefit here in the sense of, one, they're not fully exposed to any volatility of MVK. For example, their actual costs for running a satellite are completely covered in the same base asset, and their rewards, their profits, are taken in MVK. This also allows us to have a slower drip of MVK into the ecosystem over time. And as you guys all know, what happens when there's less tokens in circulation. So it's a win-win for everybody, really.
And just really quickly, I just wanted to touch on the MVK versus SMVK. What would the difference be? I know that you can convert one to the other and back and forth, but what is the big difference between the SMVK and the MVK?
So SMVK is basically just the staked version of MVK. It's non-transferable. So when you stake it into the platform, you can't transfer it into any other wallet or go put it onto a centralized exchange, et cetera. It's in the platform. You can delegate it to whatever satellite you want to. You can redelegate. If you don't like your satellite, you can redelegate to another one with no penalty, no fee, no anything. And there's a network transaction fee, but it's about a penny. So forgive me when I say no fees. But it's staked MVK in form. It actually originated, interestingly enough, from Sam. You want to say something?
Yeah, I was just going to say, simply put, it's the abbreviation that we use whenever we're referring to the staked MVK in our dev meetings and when we're building the platform. Just to keep it simple, to separate between MVK and when it's out and about and what's actually being transacted and moving between in the platform between the satellites. That's what it is. It's the staked MVK. It's just the abbreviation for it.
Yeah, and
to keep things simple.
Yeah, and the like, for example, MVK itself doesn't vote. SMVK is the voting MVK. So when we're doing governance votes, it's all the SMVK that's being taken into account. And an easy way to kind of understand that is you kind of have a vote in the United States. Let's say there's 330 American citizens. Not everyone is eligible to vote. Not everybody does go vote. You get like a voter turnout of like 40%. That means 60% of the people didn't really go vote. Think of the people who don't participate in actual governance as non-staked members, and the ones who actually go and participate in the elections are the staked MVK, is SMVK. So the votes you don't count the votes of people who didn't go vote, right? You only count the votes of those who ended up going to the polls and casting a ballot. And that's the difference between MVK and SMVK.
Awesome. And then there's the USDM. I know that's a stable coin that y'all use. As far as the I know there's the dynamic savings rate, the DSR savings account for the USDM. Do you want to just touch on that and how that works and how people can take advantage of that? Because I know with the USDM you have the the savings account and the yield farming, and there's a lot more that you can do with the USDM than just than just like the US dollar, right?
Yeah. So algorithmic stablecoins, when they get started off, they tend to essentially what you do is you take a loan and you go use that loan to go buy something else, leverage your position, etc. But on an economic basis of what happens in that, Jack, you could chime in here with your economics major. I'm counting on you. So the what happens when you actually go and use that algorithmic stablecoin? If everybody goes and takes out $1 million worth of USDM on day one and goes and buys more Tezos, that's great. It's great for Tezos, right? It probably won't make a dent in the price considering a $3 billion market cap. But for what does that mean for USDM is that essentially everyone just market dumped USDM into XDZ. From an economic perspective, you're selling the USDM. So algorithmic stablecoins need a safe account in order to essentially stabilize the price of the dollar. And we do that by incentivizing stake USDM. So in the beginning, you can either go take out a loan in USDM and stake it in DSR, or you can go buy USDM off the open market and stake it into the DSR without having to be exposed to a loan. It's originally going to be, since the treasury won't have revenue in it on day one, it takes a while as loans stream in, especially with no minimum payments. So it's incentivized in MVK, so it's essentially a yield farm for USDM. And eventually, as income rolls into the treasury, we can then give interest for the DSR in USDM itself.
Okay, that makes sense. And then, the one thing I want to talk about, this is interesting to me, the vault that you have. So you put your crypto assets into the vault. You get the USDM. Basically, that's the loans. You're putting up your crypto assets in exchange for the loan. If let's just say you can't pay back said loan, I know that there's the liquidation process and the collateral auction. So can we just touch on that, like how that works? If just like with anything, in life, you can't pay back the loan. There is consequences. So how does that work with with the Mavryk?
It works just like any sort of like foreclosure that's about to go underwater. Let's say, for example, there's a couple options. I mean, you just really can't pay back the loan, then it sort of just sits there in accrues interest. So you kind of should. But I guess, Sam, this is really an interesting thing. I'm not sure we ever took into account. What if someone wants to just liquidate their own position? Like if they want to pay back their loan with their own collateral, that could be really interesting. Sam, V2 ideas for tomorrow's daily meeting. So, but anyways.
Already written down.
Thank you. So I don't even think MakerDAO takes this into account or like Aave either. It's just something anyone's ever really asked, Matt. I think you might have hit something here. But look, let's take the other position of a liquidation rather than not being able to pay it back, because then it just kind of sits there and accrues interest over time, and you've got time to pay it off. In the case of a liquidation, if the loan becomes under collateralized below the level which the DAO governance gets to set, we're initially setting it at 200%. So if the loan gets under collateralized below 200%, so let's say you have you put in $200 of Tezos and you took out a $100 loan. If the value of that collateral of the $200 worth of Tezos goes to $199, it then opens up for liquidation. Because if it's below $100, everyone's screwed. Even you having the USDM as a loan, the protocol, the third party people who are going to step in to buy off your loan, et cetera. So we want to make sure the loan never goes below 100% of collateralization. So below 200%, it opens up for liquidation. Someone comes in and essentially buys. You have now $200 worth of collateral, $199 worth of collateral in that vault, but the loan only needs to get paid back 100. So essentially, they step in, they pay off your loan for you, they pay back your interest rate stability fees for you, and they pay a penalty on your behalf. And I'll get to why it's from the liquidator in a second. They pay the liquidation penalty on the original loanee's behalf, and then they get to take out the $199 worth of collateral. The reason why they pay it off, they still profit. So essentially, let's say, for example, the numbers, forgive me on the numbers here because it's 10:30 p.m., but essentially they pay the $100 of the loan back off, they pay $10 worth of interest fees, and they'll pay, I think it's a 10% liquidation penalty, so they'll pay another $10 liquidation penalty. So they put in $120 to buy out your loan, but then they received $200 worth of collateral.
Okay. Huh.
And the user still has their original loan. So they didn't lose everything in a foreclosure. Unlike when a bank forecloses on your house, you still keep the original loan amount that you got. The next version of our liquidations, or it might be this version, will actually allow the loanee to keep leftover collateral. It's a little more difficult.
Well, yeah, that's really getting into it then, huh?
Yeah, I mean, the aim here is to build a better financial system for everybody, right? So it's stepping stones, really.
Yeah, that's definitely what it seems like. Just in general with the whole Web3 space, it seems like trying to do what's already being done in a much more productive, better way for the people, as opposed for the financial institutions that's been in charge for a very long time and been making the rules as they please. But I'm looking at your tokenomics and the treasury. I see like the revenue model here as well. I know you have the yield farming, the DAO treasury, the council treasury, and all that. Do you want to just kind of touch on not just only tokenomics, also the treasury and how that's all going to look, and what I guess holders or investors can expect as far as that goes for the long term?
So I actually love discussing the treasury because it's probably one of the most fun things I think that's going to be Mavryk's going to be involved in.
I like you. Let me tell you, I love I'm having so much fun listening. Sorry, just had to say that.
Thank you. So I mean, imagine now if you have a bank, JP Morgan Chase, Wells Fargo, et cetera, they're sitting on billions of dollars worth of assets. Look at SoftBank; they lost billions just on WeWork. So all of the revenues from Mavryk flow into our treasury. They don't go to the software development company. They don't. There's not like some sort of backdoor, again, open source code. They flow into the treasury, and the DAO controls all those funds. So we use funds. We've kind of got like multiple designations of what those funds are going to be used for. Again, it's actually not hard setting code. We have what's called a quick threshold vote, and so the satellites vote on the percentages. But these are going to be roughly the ideas that we suggest. But we're basically going to have 50% for development and marketing. Blockchain developers cost a lot of money. Stam stop laughing on mute, and we have to continue paying for development and marketing. Now another piece is going to be about 20 to 40% for buying back MVK off the open market. We're not going to burn it. We're actually going to do a buyback and redistribute in order to continue incentivizing participation in the network. So it's going to be a buyback and essentially replenish the yield farms so we can have self-sustaining yield farms and replenish the Oracle rewards so we don't have to continue minting MVK all the time for it. There's going to be a billion MVK, but still, like I said, we got a long tail on that distribution. Then there's also an investment part of the treasury. And this is where it gets interesting because the DAO can then start acting as an investment bank. And it can take, it can have $1 million in there that's designated for investments and say, you know what, we're going to go buy $1 million worth of Bitcoin. And we're going to hold it inside our treasury. And that'll actually, we have 2 contracts for that as well, like smart contracts for that. And so we can literally just go out and accumulate millions of dollars worth of other assets on Tezos and essentially buy up the market. We can hold NFTs. We can deposit LP into the liquidity baking contract on Tezos and make 35% of that a year, plus the principal rise of Tezos and Bitcoin of the LP. So it's this is the treasury distributions are probably going to be the most fun piece of Mavryk.
I know you mentioned NFTs. I was curious about that. It's, I know because I know I keep reading here. It says crypto assets are, as far as the vault goes, are NFTs one of the assets that one could put up in the crypto vault in exchange for the loan?
Not yet. I think NFTs are going to be a little tricky to do loans on. I know people are trying it. It's a really volatile market. I do think that there are some discussions on how we can actually build lending, like individual contracts. So you can kind of, because we have an OTC escrow contract that we've been playing with. So we can do something where someone says, hey, you know what? I've got this Tezzard or other NFTs are it's the second biggest chain for NFTs after Ethereum. So they could say, you know what? I've got this NFT. It's worth $10,000. I want to go take a $3,000 loan against it. And a private individual can come in and say, you know what? I'll take you up on that offer. I want 10%. It goes into an escrow contract. The NFT, gets locked. The person gives over the money, and it's kind of like on a one-to-one loan basis rather than like a pool of assets that some other protocols are thinking of doing.
Yeah, that's really interesting. I know, for NFTs especially, because like with crypto, you buy one Bitcoin, or you buy whatever, it goes up, you can always sell off a little bit of it. But if you buy one NFT, you can't really, either you can get to keep it or you get to sell it. So that's the interesting concept of being able to put your NFTs in the vault, and then let's say I know that it's for the Tezos blockchain, but like an equivalent of like Bored Ape for Tezos, or like the gods, like projects. It'd be interesting to be able to do that.
We actually at Tezos Israel implemented with a network called Tezos into a network called XP Network, and so you can wrap your Bored Ape to Tezos using XP Network. I've also invested in another protocol that's going to be doing that as well. That's going to be really interesting. The bigger direction of where we're having for Mavryk is actually doing permissioned mortgages, so KYC'd mortgage pools against tokenized securities that are built on Tezos. Like, we're literally going to turn this into a mortgage and investment bank on chain.
Yeah, it's really interesting. It's like creating your own ecosystem, using these smart contracts and the blockchain, the tokenomics and all that. It's really neat. And because it is a DAO, and because it's by the people type of deal, you're definitely able to go through with that kind of stuff on Web3 as opposed to what the traditional ways we had banking and all that. So it's really cool. And I wanted to touch on the decentralized Oracle, but I think that you kind of answered that already. It's basically the to me, I think correct me if I'm wrong, but it's a process of using the satellites to stake your MVK to SMVK, and then using that to delegate the votes for the DAO, right? That's what is that the decentralized Oracle? Or is that something else? Hello? Can you guys hear me?
Hey, I can hear you.
Alex?
I thought I got my phone.
Okay. No, I don't know what's up with Alex.
I accidentally went on mute.
He does this a lot during developer meetings, actually.
Those are my
just
headphones
a normal
problems.
thing. Sure.
No, we have Zoom all the time. It always happens to us.
Exactly.
Don't give him excuses.
Essentially the oracles are essentially the satellites play two roles. They vote on governance on the user's behalf, and they sign the price feeds for the oracle. So essentially, if you want to know what the price of something is on chain, or any data that's off chain that you want to have it on chain, our oracle system, the satellite network, brings that data over and validates that it's authentic and brings it on chain. So if you wanted to build a sports betting company on Tezos, or an insurance company on Tezos, you could actually use our satellites to bring in all the flight data if you want to do flight insurance, for example.
Oh, wow. All right. So it's more than just staking and all that.
Yeah. Like I said, it's turned into this investment mortgage securities data.
Into a bank.
It's turned into a bank. Yeah.
And how long is this process? When did you start all this?
Mavryk started. It started a long time ago. I saw a lack of DeFi products, and I thought, if not me, then who? So fuck it, I'll start something. And it morphed into this we thought, you know what, let's get really simple, because when this was happening, Tezos was just getting, all of the infrastructure in place to actually launch dApps. So we were like, you know what, let's keep it simple. Let's not hit gas limits on the smart contracts. We're just going to do like collateralized stablecoins on Tezos. And we had called it Baker DAO, like, kind of a play on Maker DAO, but the baking on Tezos, so Baker DAO. And we kind of had to change the name, coincidentally, in the middle of a war. So that was interesting. Got rid of some partners who were catastrophically toxic to the platform, and built in our own in-house team, and it's been skyrocketing ever since. So I'd say the last like 6 months, it's really flown forward on development.
Well, that's awesome. It's super impressive. Like you just said, you saw a lack of something. You're like, if someone's going to do it, might as well be me. I love that. That's definitely what this whole space is about now. Just seeing something and then realizing now, via Web3, via NFTs, via crypto and all, blockchain technology, we can do something. We can make a difference. I know we have some people in the listening, who have NFT projects of their own, and who are working in the Web3 space, like Shauna with Unique Soul, and I see some other great NFT PFPs down there in the listeners. And by the way, if anyone has any questions they want to ask, this is definitely a great chance to do that. Like we said, this is an AMA, so ask away. But I know we were talking about how you got started, when you got started. I just want to ask, for those who are just getting involved in Mavryk, maybe just heard of it for the first time today, how would they get started getting involved in Mavryk? Whether it be just join the Discord, or is it you have to get Tezos first and then go to your site, or how does one get started? With Mavryk.
Alex, you're on mute again.
Okay, so we are we're launching Mavryk in mid-June. We're talking to a few exchanges for a centralized listing, and we're doing a public token sale that is KYC-less because we're not raising capital. Actually, all the proceeds from our in-house public sale are going directly into Mavryk's DAO treasury. So the funds that we raise privately, we get to use it as a development team to launch Mavryk forward. The public sale funds that are gathered, I would say, because it's not really raised capital, all go into the on-chain treasury, and the community, the DAO, controls those funds. So if you want to participate in Mavryk, stay tuned, go to our website, and follow us on Twitter, join us on Discord. We're pushing our community to Discord, not Telegram. And be a Mavryk. Actually, hilariously, I was coincidentally watching Top Gun earlier tonight, but the new one's coming out in 3 weeks. Forgive me.
I don't know that. We have Real Steps, or Steps Real, here speaking. You have a question? First of all, also thank you for coming up here. And if anyone else has any questions, please feel free to request to speak.
Yeah. I think I'm already in the Discord. I love the work that's going on. It definitely is complex. This is not a simple undertaking. So my hat's off to you for that. I do have a question, just going back to what you were talking about, like the one-to-one lender. What would be the recourse if, let's say, the loan went bad?
Well, it's an example of what we could do in the future on NFTs. So I'm a bit speculating here on that, right? Our direction is going to be definitely towards the tokenized security route, but it'd be relatively easy to actually implement from a contract level because we have a lot of these puzzle pieces already built. The recourse essentially if a loan gone bad is that the collateral is sold, and so the person who took the loan actually suffers more than the person who loan. It's not worth it for the borrower to go against his loan.
Gotcha. Okay, that makes sense.
Because it's not like a credit card where, like the credit card company takes a risk in giving you credit. These are collateralized, loans. If a credit card company didn't, let's say, have like a default rate where people just like went bankrupt and never paid them back, they wouldn't charge you 17%, right? Like you get like a 1% rate because they didn't have to make extra money to make up for the money they don't get back. On a collateralized loan, there's almost risk to the lender.
Because the crypto assets are put in for collateral, right?
Exactly.
And how long does it take before it gets sold to someone? Like, how does that process work?
I mean, to actually take out a loan, it's 1 block, 2 blocks for finality. It's 30 to 60 seconds. But the more interesting thing is that Tezos, like I said, we swapped our consensus mechanism a couple weeks ago, and so we're actually going to be lowering our block times from 30 seconds a block to, I think, sub 5, or if I'm not mistaken. It's written somewhere on the core, our core dev team's documentation somewhere. So don't quote me on that. But it's going to be dropping over the course of the next 3 to 6 months. We have an update about every 3 months. Tezos didn't really take the philosophy of go centralized and go fast, because what's the speed of, if you're not decentralized, what's the speed worth if you're not decentralized? No one really needs those speeds unless you're building like high frequency on-chain trading, which almost no one does. So we figured go decentralized and then, scale from there, and it's going, tremendously well. But Real, do you have any other questions? I feel like you had another question.
Yes, a couple actually, just real quickly. You sound very technical, so if I could ask you a more technical one. I've just heard of potentially funds being trapped within an NFT. Not sure if you're familiar with some of the cases out there of funds being trapped.
So I'm not. I'm only technical need to be as a non-developer. Again, this is one of those things where I think Sam is sitting there laughing. So Sam like preloads the terminal code sometimes for the bakeries, and if they go down, I'll just kind of have to hit enter, and then I'll be like, "Yo, man, I'm hacking," and then the whole dev team gets like a good giggle.
Real,
So
can you give like an example of what you're talking about? Because I think you might be referring to something that happened on ETH recently.
it is.
Yeah,
Sam,
yeah.
I know what he's referring to. There was I think you sent it to our group chat, Sam, or Tim did. It was $32. I got locked in a contract.
Yes.
Is that what you're referring to? So that's not locked in an NFT. It's locked in a smart contract that they basically have no entry points to get into. There's no way for them to extract those funds. Think about like putting your money in a wallet and throwing away the private key.
Gotcha. Just quickly, what is the symbol? MR? Did you say MRV was the token?
MKR.
MVK.
Sorry. MVK. Wow, sorry. I just quoted you.
MVK. That's what I thought. And I'm just curious, are there going to be other supporting tokens? Are you looking to design other supporting tokens that'll be pegged to that?
We're not doing other tokens. We're basically doing MVK in our own collateralized stablecoin USDM. So MVK will be a governance token. It'll trade freely in the market. Its market price will obviously vary. USDM is meant to be pegged to the dollar. So to the best of our abilities, it's going to be damn pegged to the dollar.
And that has a direct impact on the MVK.
It doesn't. I mean,
supports
the more USDM that's in circulation, the more loans that we have, which means the more money is flowing into the treasury. So I wouldn't say it doesn't have a direct impact, but obviously, the more business you're doing, the more successful the DAO is, the more money in the treasury, you can do the math. I'm really adverse to saying the MVK token price will go up because I just don't want to get sued over it from the SEC. So, like if you have a DAO with $100 billion, $100 million worth of funds in it, you can imagine what the value of controlling that DAO will be, right?
Yeah, definitely. And you're kind of jumping to the last question I had. I didn't want to ask it just yet, but are you familiar with or I'm sorry, what blockchain is your token going to be on?
We're building on Tezos.
Okay, that's what I thought. And do you see that crossing to any others? Do you see that becoming a more unified to other chains, or just you're strictly staying on that?
There's a lot of talk of going cross-chain. We'll see how our cooperation relation goes. Nothing set in stone, essentially. So there's no reason we can't go cross-chain. We're here currently now to build up a Tezos ecosystem, but business is business. We've been staunch supporters of Tezos for a very long time. So we're here for now.
And I'll end it with a two-part question. Is there a specific wallet that I should be utilizing, or is it pretty good for any of them?
Yes, you should. There are two wallets on Tezos. One of them is called Temple Wallet. If you join our Discord before launch, we're going to be posting actually one of our guys, content writers, is actually here on the line. So he'll be writing an article on how to open up a Temple wallet or a Kukai wallet. Temple is basically like MetaMask. It's a Chrome extension. It sits at the top right of your browser. And Kukai is a web browser, so it actually is a website. It's a web page basically, and you can keep a tab open. So it's decently well for mobile actually. So Kukai or Temple are the two most popular wallets on Tezos. If you're going to participate in our initial treasury raise, then you shouldn't use an exchange wallet for Tezos. It's highly not recommended because we have no control over their wallet. We have control over any wallets. Sorry, that sounded really bad. We'd have to be in touch with every single different exchange for them to rec the tokens coming in. And that's why, by the way, every project doesn't, they always ask you not to use an exchange wallet.
Right. And just last thing, you had mentioned the SEC looking in the next 2 or 3 years, they're going to be right there knocking at your door. What do you see that happening as? You're already preparing for it?
Look, our lawyers are fairly confident that we're not a security. like really damn confident that we're not a security. We're not raising capital from the public markets. We are, when we plan to go into security token lending, that is obviously going to be permissioned and KYC'd, so no problem there. The thing about crypto is you always have to work into the shadows and be as cooperative as you can, or as your other side party is willing to be with you. So we are not registered in the United States. We're not located in the United States. The software development company is actually registered in Gibraltar, and the reason why I picked Gibraltar is because, you know, in the US, you know, Coinbase is a publicly traded company. Brian Armstrong is a CEO of a multi-billion-dollar company in the United States, and the SEC will not sit down and talk with him, which is absolute bullshit. So we registered in Gibraltar because it's British Commonwealth law, so it's Western law. They're forward thinking on crypto, and because I can fly out there and have coffee with the regulator in their office. And so I could literally have sat down with him and I'm like, look, this is where the Commonwealth, they're independent of British law, but it's still based on the Commonwealth law. So it can move faster than England as well. That's a big benefit. So I sat down with him and I was like, look, this is where we're in the clear because your laws aren't even written to address this type of stuff. This is where we won't be in the clear. And when we eventually to building that, we will work 100% in the law with you. So we're completely taking into account that regulation is going to end up coming. And we just picking jurisdictions that are more friendly in speaking with us to work with them rather than, you know, all of a sudden one day the SEC drops like, you know, lawsuits on everybody because they were, you know, doing things improperly, I would say.
Well, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Yeah, thanks for coming up. And you know, you touched on a really important point, you know, with the SEC, and you know, it's good that y'all obviously have lawyers, you know, are for your company. I know a lot of these NFT projects coming up. You know, they do tokenization, you know, they do all this stuff, and you know, all these different types of utility without, you know, really like thinking about the complications of you know, the SEC might be not today or tomorrow, but, you know, knocking on some of these project stores, and you know, they don't have anything, you know, as far as, you know, lawyers or anyone like backing them. They haven't really talked to anyone. It's really important to, you know, to this crypto MT space to worry about that. I actually had an AMA before this with a crypto lawyer, and he was saying actually exactly what you said, is as long as you're not a security, that's like the big thing. At least for now, they're going to be, you know, first going after all the projects and assets that, you know, and you know, entities that kind of became a security. So, you know, I'm glad that, you know, y'all have the lawyers, and, you know, because this is like a big deal, you know, what you guys are doing. You know, it's not, you know, just some small, like, you know, project. You know, I've heard about Mavryk, you know, even prior to doing the space, you know, from a lot of big names. So, you know, it's really awesome, you know, what you guys are doing. Amy and Jack, I know you guys are still there. I know, Amy, you were loving this. You have any questions for him?
No, I've just been listening. I think it's incredible. I think it overall just the whole rolling out in general of you know, loans leveraged against your crypto and this type of market that kind of takes a stranglehold away from our financial sector is huge. And that rollover into the crypto space, and you know, there's smaller ones here and there that have popped up in this and that, but I do think it's truly the future of two things. First of all, is bring power back to kind of the retail investor, because most of the people building out these type of systems are not huge corporate infrastructures with multi-billion dollars. These are the everyday people that are, you know, technically sound and financially savvy and younger, and just, you know, I mean, the possibilities are endless. And you know, half of the stuff you were speaking about even goes over my head. I'm not going to lie, but you know, the groundwork, the technical aspect, and just the foundation of where all of these things put together can bring crypto. And especially if you're able to, you had mentioned the NFTs, Matt, about able to borrow against your NFTs and this and that. And just, you know, really in general, for people that don't want to sell their crypto and, you know, need a loan or borrow against this or that. It's great to see some of the power taken away from the institutional stranglehold that we've been under forever, you know, so kudos to you for that.
Thank you. You actually just struck upon a point that I really wanted to bring out here, because, you know, we actually do have a Tezos speaker in the crowd right now. Clap if you recognize yourself. Come on. I'm waiting for it. Okay, maybe. Oh, hey, Titan also, Baker, by any chance? There we go. Okay, so Bacon Benjamin is here in the crowd. He's actually Tezos Baker. So you know, Tezos in general, crypto's given this power back to people. You know, and you always like, okay, big banks. We'll look at Wells Fargo did opening accounts for you and hidden fees. Like, we cannot do stuff to you without the DAO. I mean, actually, we can't even do stuff to you if the DAO votes on it. It wouldn't be able to retrospect do something. It would affect the future lending. But all of these banks have basically like screwed people over, for a very long time. And credit unions in the UK and England, they call them, building societies. These people have gathered their money together in order to build better banking and financial systems for each other. But really, your credit union today is basically just another form of like a cuter bank. And so you don't actually have, hold on one second. You don't actually have, Mavryk as a DAO is basically a digital credit union where you can track the transparency of how that credit union is essentially doing for what it's doing for you, where its money is going, and you actually now own as a cooperative part of that banking like credit union, as opposed to now that credit union belongs to God knows who. You just get your credit card and put your paychecks there. That power is really now back in the hands of the people, and you can transparently track it as well.
That's really cool.
Absolutely. That's one aspect I think in the crypto market will be interesting to see where it goes over the next 5 years, is really that ratio of like lending and where it will funnel into institutional lending, i.e. like your credit score, and how crypto and these type of situations can boost credit scores. And once you start to get into that different type of market where your crypto starts to become recognizable in that aspect, that's something I've always thought about a lot too. And you just made me think about it with that. I just wanted to make that comment.
Yeah, they're building. I've actually got an article open about how blockchain can affect credit scores. But
Nice.
back to if he's still in here, I can't see everybody that's in this group, but we actually have, we're quite. We've got quite a couple supporters in here actually. Tezos as well came in here. Tez is here, and that's what I wanted to bring up. Oh, Tezos launched their own NFTs as well. So props to you, man. I've been a big supporter of you guys from the beginning. Tez as well, and so Tez released these PFPs of otters, which it turns out they're the cutest fucking things in the world. I didn't know until I took my daughter to like a zoo a couple weeks ago, an aquarium a couple weeks ago, and saw otters. So it turns out they're adorable. But it'll be, we're actually going to be giving away an otter as part of like our giveaway series for building our community as well. And we've got some few things working with them. So that's going to be one. Thank you for being out here, and two, hey, we got more otters in here. Okay, cool. So and two. It's all about this, community and cooperative growth. So a rising tide raises all ships. We're very close with a lot of people in this ecosystem. Hey, Paggy, come in here. Sorry.
Hey, how you doing?
Good. How are you?
Yeah, good. Thank you. We had a bit of a clash with Town Hall and your AMA, but I wanted to, as finished, I wanted to jump on and say hi.
Oh, hello. Yeah, it's glad to have you in here. We were actually someone had come on and asked about like NFT lending, which is not exactly up our purview, but it's something that we could actually probably implement really easily.
Yeah, I mean it's definitely something that Tezos could benefit from, and yeah, I think it will happen at some point in the future. So a platform will. Yeah, if Mavryk did it, would be awesome because very excited by a platform.
Thank you. I've got more than my fair share of otters, so I could say I'm quite the fan as well.
You guys in there, real?
Yeah, I was just curious. What do you see the market cap being, and just is there any potential for call it whale manipulation?
I mean, look, I don't know how to put this because there's potential for whale manipulation in every market. I mean, look at GameStop, for example, right? So I really can't speculate on that because what is too big that you cannot, have a whale? Whales manipulate Bitcoin, so it's $1 trillion market. In terms of just to be quite openly, just radically transparent about that. We're doing our best to distribute the tokens well. We capped investors above a certain amount, or if there was like kind of like if you went over an amount, we had a gray zone, not a gray zone, but like a breach zone. So if you actually went into that breach zone, you actually got a longer, like a 30% longer vesting period. So we have some investors who are, even though they're supposed to have a short investing period because they wanted to invest more, we give them like almost an extra year of vesting. So that's one bit as well. Not all the tokens that you actually see in the tokenomics chart. Before we launch, we'll actually be releasing a distribution table. But so that's on like protecting against like manipulative forces, right? Someone can actually go up and buy a shit ton of tokens out of our control, just as it is in any market. On this note, your question on market cap, I can't openly speculate about that. It's not something. It's like my lawyer would probably put like a spear through me if I did. We do this to like technically these governance tokens are there for controlling the platform and not as investment vehicles. Obviously people buy them because they're traded, they go up and down in price, but as a founder and CEO and a team, we are not legally allowed to speculate or dictate, like kind of like where we see the price to go. I would love to, right? I mean, it'd be so fucking fun if I can actually, like openly be like, yeah, I wanted to get here. But they kind of, welcome to regulations.
Well, yeah, I know through business plans you have to at least kind of project what you think anyway, but I understand if you can't disclose that. But the bigger the better, right?
No, I mean, even to our investors, I don't have any projections on. I don't have projections. I mean, like we talk about it with our team, but to our investors, even we do not speculate on future value. We let them take that all on their own accord. Every different investor kind of has their own idea of where it's going to go, and we're not like, I'm looking to build a new financial, more fair, transparent system here. I'm not looking to go to jail because of bullshit laws, and they are bullshit laws. I completely, as a new libertarian, these regulations are hurting the common person more than they are protecting them. I was speaking at a DeFi a crypto conference in Gibraltar, and someone asked me, what about consumptions in crypto and DeFi? And I was like, what are you talking? Let me turn this around. DeFi is the consumer protection. So as much as I disagree with these laws, I don't feel like going to jail for them, right? I love my family. So
I see we got Breaking Benjamins up here. How you doing? I know that we were mentioning that you do the you said baking the Tezos baker?
Yes, sir. I'm just a small mom and pop Tezos baker that's also building a few things, some baking utilities, and some NFT projects. I'm fully on Tezos, and I like to participate in governance as much as possible.
He's quite humble because he's actually also one of the most outspoken, in a good way, like community whips when it comes to governance and getting things moving along. So I like the humbleness there, but Baking Benjamins has been quite a rallying cry for getting all the community together every time we have governance votes.
Well, I appreciate that, but I don't want to see myself as a Chuck Rhodes from Billions type of a character necessarily.
No one's. I'm not gonna it's not like a January 6th Trump moment, where you're like rallying the crowds type of thing. But just a community influencer, not influencer. That's a bad word. I'm sorry. Community. An active community member, for lack of a better term. I'm sorry. I was up till 4:30 last night rebuilding a deck for a centralized exchange, so I'm a little tired.
I kind of like that. You a community, that's it. That's all that matters.
Yeah. I'm glad to have you out here. I hope to have you running a satellite, actually. That'd be pretty cool.
Yeah, I'm definitely not saying no. It's just a matter of being able to stretch myself, but if at all possible, I'll definitely do it.
Awesome. We should talk. It's been a while, man. We actually, probably hop on another Zoom call.
Definitely.
So I do a lot of work with NFT projects in the Ethereum and Solana space. This is actually my first interaction with any project or just anyone involved in Tezos. So this is all just new to me, and I'm just curious, when it comes to Tezos, because with Ethereum and Solana, there's a big, the gas and all that is the big difference maker, with the contracts. As far as Tezos go, is it the gas fees like Ethereum, where it's on the higher side, or is it more like Solana and Polygon, where it's on the lower side?
It is. I mean, look, when you're talking about like gas fees that are in the pennies range, it's not that expensive. Solana's probably a little cheaper. In terms of decentralization, they're nowhere near us. In terms of uptime, they're nowhere near us. I mean, my line about Solana at the moment is that if a Jaguar vehicle, if like a Jaguar or Range Rover is more reliable than your blockchain, you have a problem. And so Solana's gone down 6 times in the last year. It is virtually centralized. The dev team can can bring up or down turn on and off the chain if they want to. There was something that really interesting that happened. Someone was at like the Solana Beach convention, I think it was in Portugal, and they were like, a Solana dev just Googled what is decentralization in front of me, and that kind of made the rounds in the Tezos community. But in terms of gas fees, over several different Tezos protocol updates, we've lowered our gas fees. Ethereum is still trying to figure out kind of how to not update over a weekend, which tends to be a problem for them. So when you're talking about like gas fees that are pennies, all's good. I mean, like if you turn it from like 2 pennies to 1, yeah, it's gone down 50%, but did you really gain that much, right? Unless no one's really doing high frequency trading on chain. yet. It's important in the long run, but remember, if you build for decentralization first and then scale, you'll be better because everybody's built for scale and without decentralization, and then that just is a road to hell in a sense.
So it sounds like it is more so. It's like cheaper. Like it's just not like Ethereum where you're looking at like I'm in one NFT. I'm looking like $40. It's more so like penny is kind of different. Like $1 or $2, whatever. Like
Yeah,
if you want an example of the NFT side, we did a 4007 NFT drop to our holders. It cost us about $4.
okay, yeah. So that's like nothing compared to like Ethereum, where that's perfect. Yeah, because I being a NFT trader and all that, it's a lot easier to talk yourself into assets you're not spending half the asset is in gas like with Ethereum, open seas and all that. So I like that. That's definitely the one of the biggest turn-ons for me when I switched over from Ethereum to Solana. Was the the gas fees. It sounds like Tezos is also just as good as as far as that goes forecast.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, not to hijack the AMA, but yeah, I mean, for an NFT project, I mean, we've done probably about 10 airdrops now. Not all 4007 in size, but yeah, I mean, it's total. We probably spent about $10 on all of those airdrops because it's very economical, which makes it very easy to then give back to your community in terms of airdrops and things. So it makes it a pleasure to work on the blockchain, really.
And I know I overheard that you guys are doing some collab giveaways between Mavryk and the Otters, and that's really important, especially with Mavryk being crypto based. Everyone always says that NFTs are like the fun way to onboard people into crypto. Because there's pictures and there's utility and all that, and as crypto might not is quote unquote more boring. It is a great way to make money, and I think that NFTs is a great way to get people involved in crypto, which is kind of what we're doing over at Titan Trading and PB Alerts, doing the whole, especially over at Titan Trading, is educating people in blockchain technology, NFTs, Web3, how it all works. That way, they can get involved, with whatever they want to do, crypto, NFTs, both. But I think it's really important doing these, given, like what you guys are doing, collabing with, Mavryk collabing with NFT projects, because that really is like, for me personally. Now I'm thinking about Tezos. Now I see there are NFT projects out there like Otters. That might be a good way for me to get into the Tezos blockchain, because I like NFTs. I'm an NFT trader, so I just have one quick question about that for for you, Otis. Ethereum has their open seas. Solana has their Magic Eden. Where can I find Tezos NFTs as far as the marketplace goes?
So you've got object.com is the biggest Tezos only platform, and then you've got Rarible as well, which is obviously multi-chain. Both of those support Tezos. I think there are about 6 or 7 different platforms, but those are the 2 big ones where you probably navigate to first.
Awesome. Yeah, I think I got to start looking into. I know it. Like I said, we started off with just Ethereum and Solana, doing education on those blockchains and how projects work and all that kind of stuff. But Tezos, great blockchain. We should start getting people involved in, when it comes to Titan Trading, is educating this space. I know everyone does kind of focus on Ethereum, Solana, but it sounds like Tezos is just just up there, with those two.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, in terms of obviously, Alex will probably back me up on this. I think obviously it doesn't have the same user base yet as those 2 chains, but I think it's probably a bit of a slower acceleration towards getting where those are. But in terms of obviously the technology behind it, it's it's on par, if not better than other blockchains out there. So it's definitely a blockchain to watch and a blockchain to get involved in. For NFTs specifically, you've got a lot of very talented artists. I don't think there's quite as many projects as on Ethereum and Solana, but there's one artists really thrive on Tezos because there's a very big movement there. If you want to easily navigate to those platforms, on our bio is our link tree, and you can navigate to those platforms.
Tezos easily has hands down the best tech out there for a layer 1 blockchain, especially when you take into consideration the ease of use for consumers. Polkadot gets really confusing with parachains. Ethereum's fucked, for the lack of a better term. Solana's centralized, and so when it comes to, it's a little bit more difficult to build on, but it's more secure, and we can roll out upgrades every 3 months, and the community gets to vote on it. We've got one of the largest foundations. The Tezos Foundation has $1.2 billion in assets in a PwC regulated foundation in Switzerland. And so the users are a little slower to come than Ethereum. Ethereum's got first mover advantage, that's for sure. But we're growing steadily. I mean, if you look at like some of our dev tooling to track on-chain activity, every month over the last like 9 months or so, almost a year, it's been almost record-breaking numbers of like more smart contract calls, more wallets open, etc. More platforms that are launching left, right, and center. VCs are starting to get involved. When I got started with Mavryk, we were, except for one VC who the foundation invested into to invest in Tezos products, the rest, we were all their first investment in a Tezos protocol outside of, they invested in the ICO and then no other Tezos application after that. So we were a lot of our VC's first investments into the Tezos ecosystem. But now people that I know who have started platforms after us have more easily got VC funding. So, and the foundation's doing some work behind the scenes to increase that as well. So you're really going to start seeing this over the next like things are going to start sprouting up. And on the NFT route, Matt, so for example, Evian Water, Papa John's Pizza, Gap, Red Bull Racing, and McLaren Racing all build their NFTs on Tezos as well. Oh, and the Grammy Awards. So like one of with Whitney Houston and the lead singer from Linkin Park. So.
Oh wow! So yeah, people is definitely becoming something in the mainstream. Then that's for sure.
Yeah.
Jackal and Amy, I know that you two are more so on the crypto side of things when it comes to these assets. I know you trade Tezos. Do you know much about the blockchain? Like, do you compare comparing it to like Solana or Ethereum? Like, as traders, do you even bother with with all the behind the scenes like they were talking about? Or are you just more so looking at the charts?
I definitely look at the fundamentals behind it. I'll trade like intraday, but I'll invest based on the fundamentals and how good a coin actually is. I've never invested in Doge or SHIB or something, but I have leverage traded them within a certain day based on movements, and then I'll just put those profits back into investing into actual good crypto coins. But I'm all over the fundamentals and the technicals behind everything in the crypto market.
Have you followed Tezos before?
No, I'm not. Well, yes, I have, just because they're huge. If you have Brave browser, you'll log on to Brave browser and you'll see that they're advertised everywhere on there. So I have looked into them, but I'm not invested in the Tezos.
You may see Mavryk all over the Brave browser.
Oh yeah, that's
before
cool.
Launch.
That's cool.
The Real Steps guy at Steps Real who asked a question, so he was asking, it's like, oh, it's quite a complicated system, etc. So we've got a great marketing team. We've actually got two marketing teams. One is like a great marketing team for building community growth and actually getting out there into the real world, like a proper marketing team. And we've also got like your crypto shill type of team to at some point crypto is still crypto, and we need to bring that community, like all of those traders and speculators and people who are like whales on other chains to come in. And then also another thing is that we work closely with with like the foundation and the entity. I still have a position inside the ecosystem. So like you said, Tezos is all over Brave. It's really funny that you mentioned that because it looks like we'll probably also have Mavryk over Brave as well, and they've got exposure to tens of millions of people out there. So I'm loving the exposure, the future exposure on that.
Yeah, I know with with Tezos, that's for me. That's one I definitely have heard about. I am going to personally get involved. Amy, I know you traded. Do you have anything to say about like the blockchain or behind Tezos?
I'm sorry, what was that, Matt? I just defend.
As far as Tezos goes, like I know you trade it all the time. Are you usually just looking at the charts, or is this something that you believe in more as far as the blockchain goes?
I'll tell you what, after this discussion too, as well, it's definitely something that I believe in a little bit more. Really, I've got my high conviction long-term stocks, but and that's probably 80%, and then 20%, I'm literally just trading the charts. Because unfortunately, which is a good and a bad thing, crypto trades most of the time in a big giant chunk. And then you shift into your altcoin season and you have those altcoins that break out and beat the trend, beat Bitcoin, beat Ethereum. And that's what I'm trying to catch. And for the most part, the rest of them, Ethereum used to trade a little more alongside the market last year. And now, obviously, right now, the whole market's trading with crypto. Everything's just red, bleeding red. But in general, yeah, just, I'm trading the trends right now. And then, but I do have most of my money in longer term, and it's definitely one of my top 10.
I know we have those crypto educational classes. Do we cover Tezos at all in those?
Do we, Jackal? I can't remember.
No, I don't think we cover it. We cover like how to find an actual good coin. So I guess in that sense we do cover it.
Yeah, we should. Now that I'm, my eyes are opening up to this. There's like so many people, just the listeners too. It looks like there's a whole community behind Tezos. Not just the crypto, but also in the NFT space. I see a lot of NFT PFPs out there. It's definitely something I want to start looking into as far as Titan trading goes. Because it seems like the whole new ecosystem that's, I would say, up and coming. Because I definitely have heard of it, and I know a lot of people know of it, but it's definitely I think has a lot more, a lot of room to grow.
For sure. Do some deep dive videos. The three of us just record some deep dive videos where we go more deeper into these projects and, hit on some points for people looking for longer term investments. I think would be really cool to do for the Discord.
Sure. Works
Yeah.
for me.
Yeah, I know we do a lot of, like I was saying before, a lot of collab deal partnerships and all that with NFT projects in the Ethereum and Solana blockchain. But definitely now going to start looking at some Tezos ones. I know if there anyone out there, definitely feel free to reach out because like we were saying before, like with something like Mavryk, it's such a great, I think it's such really cool, and like the whole concept behind it, like it's kind of like it is a decentralized bank, and with a DAO. Also worked in using the satellites. This is such a great concept that's already becoming a reality, launching. And you said I believe it was June. And but like the big part, in order to get people involved in that, it's all about onboarding people not only into the crypto space or into the the blockchain space, there's also into Tezos in general because a lot of people get right into Ethereum and they get discouraged because of gas fees, this and that. So it is nice to have something else other than just Solana or just Polygon. It's nice having Tezos out there for get people involved in. There's just so many. It looks like there's so many interesting and just great people involved in the space, like yourself, over at Mavryk and all the other projects.
Well, that's what makes our community so special. So it's taken a while to build. For those who haven't really attention to the internal workings of Tezos, there were some issues with like the foundation and whatnot, and the tech only became usable for smart contracts around 2019, 2020 in terms of like really building dApps. I think right at the beginning, even 2021, we really started to get our first DEX. And so we really focused a lot on the infrastructure for it. And then right now, it's kind of like sort of like a snowball that leads into an avalanche. So if it takes a while to roll downhill, but then it turns into this like massive cascade. And the entire platform is built, it's functional, it scales, it moves. There's a community, the community members are building, the foundation's doing a better job at giving out grants and investments. They've had their rough underpinnings. I'm definitely one of the most outspoken internal people on the foundation's actions, but but that's really been turning around so far this year, especially from what we see inside. And so you're going to see Tezos by the end of the year, I think, with like maybe 20 more platforms that are built, 30 more, which then by 2023 can turn into 300. So you want to talk about underrated? It's a $2.5 billion smart chain that works better than an $80 billion smart chain. That's blockchain, and it doesn't go down. It doesn't. It functions. It scales. So it's a force to be reckoned with.
Yeah, I'm definitely curious, like you were saying, Amy, about doing some more deep dives and really figuring this out. Figuring out all the details behind Tezos and how to get more people involved.
Yeah, if you need help with like connecting to people in the Tezos ecosystem, I mean, obviously we'd be more than happy to get involved, or introductions to other people, to bakers, to ecosystem partners, to dApps. I mean, Matt, we're DMing, so talk to me.
Yeah, no, I'd love that. Yeah, like I said before, we're all about we're not like an NFT project or like crypto coin. We were more about the education. We do call outs as well. I personally don't, but Amy and Jackal are both crypto analysts over there, so they do crypto call outs, and we really do focus on the education, just onboarding people, as opposed to just like just trying to I guess teach people a bunch of cheap tricks, about charts, like, oh, well, do this and buy, do this and sell, because that's not really exactly how it works. We were more so focused on like, this is how, you do everything from the beginning, every single step. And this is why, this step is being done as opposed to this one. And this is, when the market changes, we do this. And, there's just so much more involved in crypto and just in this whole, this whole space than just, buy here, sell here. And, I think that's why it's so important to have something like Mavryk, where it's, decentralized bank, where you can park your crypto in there, and especially if you are bullish long term, but you can also then have funds to either make money elsewhere, or just not have all your money tied into the crypto assets. Like diversification is so important. But no, I would really appreciate. Yeah, definitely. Like like you said, we are messaging. So I'd love to get connected with some more. With yourself, obviously, you definitely are one of the bigger people from what I've seen, in Tezos, who are behind it. You have the humongous company with Mavryk. So I definitely love to get more connected with you and just other connections in Tezos to help get more
You're
people involved.
you're making me blush.
Well, we do appreciate, as always, having you come on, having people like because this is so much more involved, this space, than just I think there are a lot of empty projects where it's, and I've done spaces with them, and a lot of them are commendable. There are a lot that are people just way in over their heads. They don't have a team. It's just some kid who just trying their best, and I applaud that. But it's nice also seeing that the space is also full of people who who know what they're talking about. Been there, done that. Have a team, lawyers. It's not just busting
Oh my God.
guns.
It's funny you mention this because it brings up two stories that come to mind. So um one, I was just in Dubai for a crypto conference that we got a booth with, one of your conferences in Dubai. I'm moving to Dubai, so it's I tend to find myself out there quite often. But uh so we got a booth, and I flew out there as a collaboration between Tezos Israel and Tezos Gulf, our office in the United Arab Emirates. We just had the peace deal about a year ago, and we're really close with their team there. So that was really, like, we were close, like before I think the peace deal even was announced. So that was pretty cool that we got to actually physically get to work together. So I flew out there, and some guy comes up to me and goes, "Oh, I'm working on this. I've got this NFT startup, and I'm working and doing it, whatever." And he's like, "So I heard the Tezos Foundation gives grants." And so I was like, "Oh yeah." When they start off that way, I'm just like, "Oh boy, where's it going?" So I was like, "Okay." And I was like, "Cool." So yeah, usually it helps to actually build something first and ask for a grant in retrospect. And it's just knowing how the foundation functions. And he goes, "Oh, okay. Well, it's like, do they also help you find like a team?" And I was like, "Okay, this is getting a little weird." And it turns out that, like, the guy didn't have a team, didn't have like a light paper, didn't have capital raised, didn't put really any money into it. And so I thought to myself, like, this is an idea. It's not a startup. I've been there. I mean, I've started two ideas that I was like, I started this, and then like it's you learned a way not to start a company. I'll put it that way. So that was one funny story that I brought to mind. But a second one was actually last night. So Sam and I were at a Bitcoin meetup on a Tel Aviv rooftop, with like pizza and beers, and this guy comes up to me and, like, you get your people who are complete degens and guys who run other companies, and then people who are like just completely new to it. And this guy comes up to me, he's like, "Yeah, like, I want to start a DAO." And I was like, "Okay, cool. DAOs are going to be the hit thing in 2022. Give it, like, till after the summer, and they'll probably start to take off." So he's like, "Okay, I want to start a DAO." I was like, "Cool." So I was like, "Oh, so what's it for?" He goes, "It's a charity DAO." And I was like, "Okay, interesting." He's like, "But why do you need a DAO for that?" He goes, "Well, I want to make sure that the people know where their money's going to." And I was like, "Well, you don't really need a DAO for that." He goes, "Yeah, but then, like, how do we draw in the money?" And I was like, "Well, you probably, like, sell the DAO tokens so people can have a vote on where the money goes, and they can have, like, a democratic say." He goes, "Okay, but, like, why do I need a token in this DAO? Like, do I need a token to have DAO?" And I just thought to myself, like, dude, you just need to sit in front of a computer and read. Like, it's really cool how, like, people who know nothing hear the word NFT and DAO, and they're like, "You know what? I want to do something with this," and that's going to lead to tens of millions of more people getting involved. But it is kind of funny when someone comes up to you and says, "I want to start a DAO to raise capital, but I don't want. Why do I need a token?" Just kind of cracks you up a little bit inside.
Yeah, I've had multiple scenarios where, and like you said, it's commendable, and it's great that there are people trying to do this because it is onboarding people. But at the same time, these are projects that that take investors, which if they don't work out, that means that people are losing money, which I'm not. I can't really get with that. Us being trading educators, we're trying to help
Yeah.
people make money.
Well, it was a charity. It was a charity. He was doing it to direct charity funds. So it was
Yeah,
kind of like the given that you weren't gonna get a return from it, but it just lacked, like, a fundamental thing. But Sam, were you there for that part of the conversation? I think you were somewhere near me.
I zoned out. He didn't really seem like he knew what he was talking about.
Yeah. Well, you saved yourself the time, but it was at least I got the guy to sit back and look at the drawing board, right? So
right, and that's important. Yeah, it's really important to, like, obviously not make fun of someone for not, but, like, and I've had multiple people come up to me like the same exact deal, like, or DM, and like, "Hey, I want to make this project." Like, "All right, cool. Like, like, do you have a team?" No, but I can find one. All right, cool. Like, do you have a budget? No, no. We're gonna sell these NFTs. It's like, all right, so do you have like a roadmap? He's like, well, like, I think, and it's like I think I'll just do this, and it's like, all right, so you have a very basic idea, and now you're expecting people to spend hundreds of dollars each just to make this thing happen. It's really great that that are these projects that are doing that, but I've also seen so many projects not sell out because there was a great idea, but there wasn't the team to back it. So it's just nice having a.
Well, there is the Ethereum ecosystem where people, like buy stuff off of Fiverr and sell it for $70 million. But it is technically possible these days. But it's interesting because one of the biggest discussions in the Tezos in the internal part of the Tezos ecosystem is how do we draw not just like what, we're sitting on a fuck ton of capital, fine, we can go pay people to come over and build on Tezos instead of building on other chains, or to adopt Tezos, for example, to integrate Tezos. So but how do we spur the startups to come on board? So there's always this big focus on developers. Tezos needs more developers, and that was one of our biggest challenges in Mavryk early on, was finding any developers, but mostly smart contract devs on Tezos. But then, developers shouldn't lead the building of a startup. And I know a lot of the crypto crowd might take offense to this, but trust me, if you want the ecosystem to survive, you do not want the devs actually leading these things, or at least you want them to transition out of their dev roles and get, entrepreneurship, get into incubators. And that leads me to, we need more, essentially, we need the devs to be the best devs that they can be, but we need entrepreneurs who can step in and coordinate, like the captain of a ship, or the person who leads an orchestra, which now just killed that example. But
conductor.
Thank you. So the conductor of an orchestra to come in and guide the best devs to do the best roles, and the best marketing team to do their best marketing, and et cetera, to coordinate that ship to run. And I think that's one of the things that kind of that's really nice, because now we've actually partnered with a few entrepreneur first type incubators that will also mix you with incubators with devs in order to build startups. And so if you really want to build a startup, go find either great backers, get yourself into an incubator, or go find a co-founder, because just being there on your own, I did it. Really, I've done that before. I've tried to start a company. I was just getting out of my bachelor's and master's in counterterrorism, worked a little bit in the field, and then was I'm going into tech. And you can't do anything on your own. So it's you really need to be a team player, especially when it takes a team to put. Sam was just finishing up his degree and working at a startup. The building literally next to mine, besides for the fact that we were friends before I knew him, and I was like, you're coming to me. And now it's a match made in heaven. And he's,
I wouldn't
always
define it that way, but okay.
It's sort of a match made in heaven. And my dog goes crazy every time she sees him, and my daughter's already tired of him like crazy, which is in an adorable way. But you really need to rally your team is your community, and you need to keep them happy. You need to keep them motivated. You need to build. You can't be by yourself. You, like you're saying, Matt, you need funds to pay for a team, or you need to lead a team. So it helps if you have both.
Real Steps, you have a question?
Yeah, and also just a comment too. I mean, as a former financial planner and somebody who does taxes for people who haven't done their taxes in a decade, just not planning far ahead is human nature, I think. But my question really is, you were talking about the MVK and the USDM being pegged to the US dollar, correct?
MVK is not pegged to anything. It's an asset, so it'll trade, to market demand. USDM, you are correct. It is pegged to the US dollar.
I'm just curious, why wouldn't you peg it to Tezos instead?
Well, then it would just be then it would. Ooh, sorry, just to chime in here. Actually, one of the bigger exchanges that we've been talking to just messaged me back saying, let's hop on a call. So I'm going to get a little bit giddy, and I'm not going to tell you because I can't really say anything. But Sam, it's the second one, which I'm really happy about. So the so why we won't peg to Tezos? Because then we'd just be creating a Tezos-based stablecoin, and most people like to trade into an asset they're more familiar with, and that tends to be at it. There is very little demand for even a euro-based stablecoin for people to trade in and out of. Europe's a massive market, but I think even Europeans, if you just look at the free market, I would say the majority of the world prefers to trade into USD. There are also 5 assets, pegged assets to Tezos, so wrapped Tezos products on Tezos. There's CTez, Wrapped Tez, WXTZ, I think it is, and XTZW. There's like 4 or 5 of them now. I've honestly, I've lost count. There's some good people behind some of them, but you know, the market wants $1. There's also 5 times more dollars than, you know, anything else than there were like 2 years ago. So it's a big market.
Thank you. Aim, I know you've been listening there. Do you have anything else?
Anybody else have any other questions? We've got quite a few people in this group who are just like silently lurking and staring and watching.
If anyone does want to come up and learn about crypto, we will give a free membership to the next person who comes up. And Real Steps Career, just DM me. We'll get you a free one as well for coming up here and speaking. We do coming up and asking questions. So, you know, that is the best way to you know, find out about these projects.
It isn't ask me anything. You can ask me what I had for lunch. It wasn't really the most amusing question. Like, it won't be the most amusing answer because it was like leftovers from a barbecue because I was too busy and just didn't order. But cook. But it does technically say anything. Oh, that's it. We should put this person on the scene. A.O. Nara just joined. He's a grumpy Scotsman. I'm gonna follow him back.
Technician.
And we're gonna put him on stage. A.O. Nara, you're being put, you know, directly on stage now to ask a question.
Do you know who this is?
Homer requested. That's it. He's the man. Okay, come on. What's the question?
Homer, how we doing?
Hey, MetaMatt, I'm doing all right today. How you doing?
Good. Good to hear that you're doing good.
Yeah. So I'm a former educator getting into NFTs via crypto enthusiasm. And I don't know what kind of questions you were looking for, but what I want to know mostly about crypto is how will it streamline and be able to reduce administrative waste in education and other like institutionalized social systems?
Oh boy, is that a good question. Actually, in that Dubai trip, I met a former MMA fighter who was building a Netflix for educational programs, like interactive educational programs, so that you can teach your kids from your TV. So like for different grades and different subjects and yada yada. So if you look out for it, if you see that coming up at some point, like it sounds like it's going to be pretty cool. In terms of streamlining, I mean, like if you could teach your kids from TV, one, they'll have no social skills. If you only teach them for TV, but they'll have no social skills, but you will reduce the fact that you have a building, 17 buildings per town for schools. But aside from that, streamlining in that sense, assuming the educational model that we have today is like on-campus type education persists, imagine administratively. Okay, so you can literally write a smart contract that will automatically pay, that will essentially pay out from a wallet, to all of your teachers on the first day of based on their salaries, without having to have them grab a check and go to the bank, doing a direct deposit. I mean, it's essentially an automated direct deposit directly to them. That's one thing. You can, administrative costs. I'm trying to think of like how to keep kids motivated in school beyond just like, golden stickers, but imagine NFTs that are used to like incentivize kids in terms of, I mean, I don't want to say spelling bee because it sounds like they're gonna make fun of you for having an NFT, but you can use all sort of badges and mechanisms using blockchain, I would say, more than crypto. People tend to think crypto's assets, in order to streamline services. I don't know the, outside of payroll, I don't know the administrative process so much for the education system. But just on the basic ideals of what blockchain can offer, transparency and where your money's going. And that could be from like a high school to a, a small town municipality, right? Or a police station, or, any sort of like government entity. You could actually track how they're spending their money and make sure that it's going to the right place. So you want to talk about like, like getting rid of fraud or waste. I think the official reports for like the amount of money in Afghanistan, like 33% went to fraud and waste. And if you think about how much we spent on 20 years of war, an entire third of that was bullshit, just went to waste for fraud is immense.
Yeah, oh man, that whole Department of Defense money fiasco that we have makes the education system pale in comparison in terms of what the budgetary stuff are. Yeah, I totally agree that the payroll aspect of education could go. And I am speaking probably more about the blockchain cryptography rather than just the currencies when I'm talking about removing the waste. Because I'm an educator who's getting out of public school teaching and getting into advocacy for sustainable schools, which to me is actually more of a model of an outdoor school where you're small groups and you're doing a lot outdoors and combined with like some smaller computer-based skill building stuff. So I'm trying to get more thoughts on, hey dude, I'll be right there. More thoughts on, sorry, I got a toddler hanging. It's my
How old
day.
is he?
Toddler Tuesday. He's 4. He'll be in school next year.
Sure. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I got a 9-year-old girl, so
He's awesome. Yeah, the teens are at school. And so where I was going with that was I really want to know like that I'm pushing for the right thing for advocating for like CUME folders and interdistrict transfers and sharing school to school documentation and stuff is going to be achievable on blockchain.
So
Because that's a huge administrative waste for teachers to go through all these like superintendents and admin teams that are above you and kind of preventing you from teaching to the child because you have so many hoops to jump through. Like I'm looking at it more of like we can really move the model of the school outdoors to experiential based, learn as you encounter the world, still hitting standards and stuff. But I just want to get rid of the entire like system that's in place now after being in it for 37 years.
Yeah. So on that note, actually, at Tezos Israel, before Mavryk existed. So we did a developer workshop, and everybody who passed our developer workshop, we issued the first NFT certificate on Tezos, actually. So it's an NFT that kind of shows that you passed this developer workshop and you were trained in how to create your own Tezos token. We did it in cooperation with the development studio that built the Temple wallet. And in terms of like understanding, diplomas, I mean, I know a guy who's in the clergy and he has a degree in nuclear physics. Did he actually get a degree in nuclear physics while being, getting his degree for being in the clergy? No, he bought it. So, and there's actually a phone number you can go and they would call and say, yeah, so-and-so has a degree in nuclear, science, whatever. So, in terms of like transferring records, blockchain is phenomenal. I mean, you could see like, for example, they're like, hey, like this person, showed us, revealed like their public key for their like their NFT diploma from Harvard, and you can tell that it came from like the Harvard was like the creator. So it in terms of transparency, it's huge. There's so much to be done in that regard. In terms of like education systems, I mean, look, you're looking at blockchain being a complete. I like to call DeFi a violent, non-kinetic uprising against kind of like this distorted version of capitalism that we have today. And don't get me wrong, I'm not advocating for communism in any fashion or socialism, but the capitalism today is protected capitalism for the upper class. And, capitalism can benefit everybody. So there's, I like to think of this as a better version of a more fair, free form of capitalism. You still will have your ultra rich. You'll just have a stronger middle class, which today you don't really have at the moment, and it's dwindling. And when it comes to this, why I say this is because we're on this cusp of technology, and blockchain's part of that. We're starting to see a bit of a financial revolution in the world, and the world needs it. And education is really, to me, how you get people out of social economic places. Racism for the most part is economic distrust, if you want to think of it that way. I mean, you get people who are racist against all different types of skin tones. In America, we see it as, black versus white or black, white versus minority in a sense. But when you go into other places where you don't have black or white, you've got other different types of groups, you start to, outside the box and like, okay, you know what, like it's, why are these people thinking this way? Because obviously they're not the same as us, but they still have these same feelings as us. So it's not actually, skin tone. It's economic status. And that economic status leads to behavior. Don't get me wrong. That's unfortunately, you're more likely to do certain things depending on your economic status, no matter what country in the world you're in. And so getting people out of those economic.
We're always going to want to do something that doesn't put yourself. Hey, I really appreciate you talking on those. I'm like super jazzed to hear that it is something that is worth pushing for, and so I'm going to keep doing that.
Just to TLDR you, like the more you get education into like and teaching people how to build, the more people will get themselves up, the more they'll want to learn, the more they'll propel themselves forward economically. And that's the longer form of where I was going with this. And I think blockchain and crypto's the path forward for that.
Yeah. Well, I look forward to hearing more from you, and I'm going to try to share more on what I'm doing in the future, because I'm jumping into, well, I mean, I'm going to go full force in advocating for sustainable schools now that I'm not in the system. So I appreciate you guys, and hope to talk to you another time.
Thanks for coming on, man.
And Jack, I see you came up here as well.
Yeah, thanks.
How we doing?
So I actually jumped on this. I've been, I guess you'd say, lurker in the Mavryk Discord, but I thought I'd see if maybe you could share. I actually have two questions. One is, give me your 5-minute rundown of what distinguishes Mavryk in the value proposition it's bringing. Like, what are the kind of core features and uniqueness? I'm very interested. I just haven't found that summary. And then the second, you really piqued some interest with your story about the Dubai conference. And I won't say that I was almost in that similar boat, but kind of starting from scratch, I jumped into the Tezos ecosystem about a year ago. I'm a baker, and at this point I'd say NFT collector and things like that, but I have a project that's really what's anchored me in it. And I have a software engineering background, but not really consider myself a developer at this point, more business minded or business focused. And I'm curious if you could recommend any first steps or first points of contact to maybe just reach out to somebody, or how to go about talking through some of the project ideas to see if, basically do a feasibility review. Does that make sense?
Oh boy. So those are two completely different questions. So please, If I don't remember exactly how to answer along the way, just course correct me.
Sure.
The first part, I'm going to give you a lower than 5-minute kind of pitch on what Mavryk is. Essentially, we're building a decentralized banking ecosystem. It's structured as a DAO. It's inspired by Tezos governance. So if you hold the tokens, you stake your tokens in the platform, you delegate them to a node, just as you would as a bakery. That node votes on your behalf. Similar to Tezos. So it votes for its delegates. And where a Tezos baker would validate transactions for the layer 1 blockchain, the satellite simply validates the data feeds, the price feeds that are coming in for a decentralized oracle. So all the different nodes, like the satellites, the bakers, essentially structure this array of a decentralized oracle. That's that. We're starting with it collateralized with an algorithmic, over collateralized stablecoin called USDM, and it is all the revenues are flowing back into an on-chain treasury that's controlled by the DAO. So a lot of people on Tezos are thinking like, oh, we need the foundation to put money into an on-chain treasury contract, and the bakers will control it. Well, we're doing it. I mean, we're launching in June, so it's that's about to start. The value proposition, I mean, we're about to launch a bank. Essentially, we want to get into tokenized securities lending. If you want to build a DeFi platform, or any sort of you want to bring any off-chain data onto Tezos, you can use our Oracle system as well. Our API calls should be coming out in around end of Q3, early Q4. It's something that doesn't even exist on Tezos, so we're building it. That's Mavryk. In terms of a temperature check and feasibility check on your startup ideas, I don't know where you're located in the world, but I would find a Tezos ecosystem chapter that's kind of near you. You sound American, or at least Western, so if you're in the States, you can always talk to Tezos Commons. They're kind of distributed around the world, but they're like Tezos NOLA is part of Tezos Commons. NOLA being New Orleans, sorry. There's always Tezos Israel. There is Tezos Ukraine. There is the Trilitech office in London, which is Arthur Brightman's outfit, the founder of Tezos, but he's they're more like high level, corporate partnerships and core development.
Okay. Yeah, I'm Midwestern US. So that's helpful. Okay.
Try talking to Tezos Commons or Tezos NOLA or even Tezos Israel, and we'll put you in touch with someone who can kind of walk through what you're doing and see, guide you a bit and see what the next steps are.
Yeah. Even to your reference earlier, you kind of suggested that somebody's first step was to go through the developer, build a smart contract, or maybe that's not as much development as I assume. So
Well, I'm talking about like ideation development, even at this point,
Okay.
right now. You don't want to start paying devs to build something before you know what you're building. I would get your ideation in. I'd probably raise some capital or partner with the dev, and then move it forward. On your point about being a baker, though, you run a private bakery.
Yeah.
Would you like to bitch alongside Sam for 1 second about how actually kind of annoyingly difficult it can be to run some infrastructure sometimes?
To be honest, I
I'm trying
can't
to have a
jump.
good night, so let's not.
I can't
Well,
jump
I
in
opened
that
the
pool, to
whiskey,
be
and you're not
honest.
here, Sam. So
I don't want to plug anything that you don't care to, but there are some excellent new tools that have made it so easy. I did have some struggles early on with a graphical engine that just could not stay stable, but since I've transitioned away from that, you can delete it. BakeBuddy has been very helpful, and it's excellent. Very
it just
lightweight
came out,
hardware.
right?
It's been out for a while, but it's been continually refined. I have now a kind of a command line version underneath the GUI that's really convenient, and it's been as easy as, I don't know, I voted this morning, for instance, on a proposal, and it's quite effective. It's awesome.
Sam, you getting ideas?
Yep.
Yeah, DM me. I can share a lot. I also just, I post here and there to try to publicize some of these good projects I work with. Cool.
Nice. Yeah, I mean, we're running 2 bakeries. One we're running for the software development company that's building Mavryk, and one we're actually running on behalf of the DAO. So all the Tez like we put the first roll of Tezos in there. So we put the first 8,000 Tez coins into that bakery. But essentially the DAO bakery will belong to Mavryk, and it'll pay the oracles actually. Well, at least the transaction fee, the gas costs. So we're running 2 essentially corporate bakers, as we like to call them from the system point of view. We haven't even announced them yet, but we're kind of open about the fact that they're running. We will be launching like really interesting like incentivization things. So if you hold and delegate MVK, and depending on how much MVK you delegate, or that, like, let's say how much MVK you're staking, we'll give you discounts on your baking fees.
Cool. One quick follow-up, if there's time, on your satellite architecture.
Yeah.
This Jakarta release is seeing, or at least starting to enable more of the optimists. Like that capability is coming soon at the level 1 layer, which is awesome. Are you leveraging that, or it almost sounds like its own like off-chain version of a rollup? Can you comment on that? Am I misinterpreting?
As dApp developers, we have zero clue yet how this is going to affect our application. To be transparent, we'll probably have to migrate. I don't know if we're going to have to like migrate our smart contracts over, or if that's automatic. I'm sure that I recently actually just met the guys from Marigold who worked on Ithaca. Quite actually, almost everyone worked on Ithaca in the developer community for Tezos, but I just met the Marigold guys, and I'm sure they're going to make it like at least an easier way to sort of transition there. I don't fully know yet. We only got like the parameters of it a couple of weeks ago. I think about a month ago, I first saw some of the first specs of Jakarta. They went public with it only recently. I don't fully know. But again, like the whole point is to make things better for dApps. So I can't imagine, it would be too much of a trouble for us.
Cool. All right, thanks. Keep following.
That's also my way of saying, Sam, don't worry, but we might have a lot of work ahead of us. Even more.
That was the second time that baking came up. So for those who don't know, just like a quick explanation as far as like how that works or what that is.
Baking is essentially like mining on Tezos. So Tezos is originally, the founder is French, our core development studios in France with 70 people, 50 of them are PhDs, and it's called Nomadic Labs. And so a lot of the nomenclature on Tezos is around like baking, French, boulangerie, I guess if I'm using that right terminology. So a bakery is essentially kind of like a miner on Bitcoin. So a baker does 2 roles, where like miners in Bitcoin, they just validate transactions and they earn the block rewards. On Tezos, you validate transactions and you earn block rewards. You endorse transactions, you get endorsement rewards. But the bakers, similar to how I explained Mavryk's delegated voting mechanism, the bakers get delegations from people who hold Tezos, and they vote on their behalf. So people who don't actually vote themselves, they delegate to a bakery. The bakery votes for them. The bakery also earns rewards by using their let's say their delegated weight for validating transactions in terms of like their power to validate, in a sense. Like the more Tez you have, the more often you get picked to validate, and so they use those delegations as like the weights for it. And when let's say a baker earns 100 XTZ from the delegated Tez that was delegated to him, so he takes a 10% fee, so he'll pay back 90 XTZ to his delegates and keep 10 XTZ as his fee. So what baking is running a master node for the Tezos blockchain. You earn money from it. Like we're running 2 on Raspberry Pis. You don't need massive warehouses attached to nuclear power plants in Siberia to do Bitcoin and Ethereum. It costs as much as like 1 light bulb, or sorry, I think 17 light bulbs per year. I think it's really nothing. I can't remember what it is. It's like 260,000 times. Like the entire blockchain takes 260,000 times less energy than Ethereum.
Wow.
Yeah, that's kind of why we use the eco-friendly route on our market.
Yeah, it's definitely smart. It's much easier to pitch to people, especially with crypto and just crypto and just the whole technology. A big stigma, behind being bad for the environment. Now there are so many options like Tezos and other chains like that, that aren't like Ethereum, where the gas fees are high and it's not great, for the environment, eco-friendly.
Yeah.
We got Homer, Real Steps, and Jack. I DM'd you all to get you those free memberships. Do y'all have any other questions? I know we have some other people in there. They're listening. Do y'all have any questions? Want to request to speak and ask anything for about Mavryk? We've been here for 2 hours. We asked a lot already. I know.
Yeah, we've had some people come in and come out. It was actually quite a fun time. I mean, it's like 12:15 here, so if you guys are, I don't know where you are in the world, but if you're anywhere east of me, go to bed. But Matt, where are you actually based out of?
I'm in the New York area, so I'm East Coast. So right now it's 5 o'clock for me.
Oh, very nice, very nice. I never really got to spend so much time in the the Upper East Coast. My father lived in Miami for a while, so it's technically East Coast, but just completely different.
Yeah, it's like the tropical East Coast. But
yeah. Homer, you trying to ask a question, or are you raising your hand?
Yeah, I got another question for you guys.
Yeah.
So I worked for a school that was teacher ran, so we got to make a lot of the decisions without the team above us. And so my kind of experience in that school felt a lot like what I'm hearing a DAO is kind of about, where there's like governance tokens or something. Is there any way that you guys could speak on like DAO as a bank owned by users and kind of frame that in a way that I would see it for like a school, and like or even an institutionalized system of how education could in the curriculum could be governed by the people and not by the book companies?
Well, imagine you had for example, a teachers union or like a school union that would kind of decide the future of your districts, either how to fund schools or after school programs, et cetera, et cetera. And you gave everybody, your ID, for example, was tied to a token that you hold that kind of shows that you're an official teacher in that membership system, like a teachers union. And you guys held a vote on are we gonna increase the funding on our after school, our high school football program? And you can actually vote and transparently see that X amount of people or identities, not even identities, but just transactions ballots were cast in favor of 64% said yes and 46% said no, or 36% said no, because then that would be fraud by about 10%. So you can actually see okay, 70% said yes, 30% said no. You'd be able to check. You could actually hide you could digitally hide which individual people voted which way, so you don't have to expose docs who voted that way, and you can know for a fact that the vote was cast fairly. And you can actually see in a DAO that money was transferred for that program into, let's say, the wallets for spending by using a blockchain and DAO based system. So there's really tremendous application for coming to that, as opposed to hey, you've got the commissioner of the school board and he chooses, and technically you might have votes for a union, but who the fuck actually knows if the ballots are counted properly. So you could really like it's really about building transparency, and you can have transparency without like doxing people. You can show that like 100 people voted this way and 50 people voted that way. You don't have to necessarily expose each person's individual vote.
Awesome. How would that work in a setting where you have different tiers of like you would have like your school board and then your like admin team, but then if you had high schoolers that you wanted to have a say in what projects and curriculum that they're utilizing to meet the standards, how would like a tiered thing work? Because we have like, I mean, it's a lot of paperwork and whatnot, but giving our students and families a lot of say in how we reach those curricular mandated standards as a public school. Is that similarly as equal to have multiple layers of tokens or something?
Yeah, I mean, you can have different tokens that represent different people, and you can kind of like then attribute different voting weights to the different like classes of token. I mean, it'd kind of be like preferred shares or common shares in a private corporation or a public corporation. But you could really structure. It's such a. I hate to just call it a vague question, but there's, it's kind of like asking me to say like, hey, how can you build this architecture for a brand new entire school system? And so it's kind of a very broad question. You can structure exactly as you were saying using blockchain and crypto. So you can have like the students get a certain class of token, the teachers get a certain class of token, the parents get a certain class of token, and then the council can get a class of token. You can attribute voting weights to each different kind. You can attribute no voting weights to the students' ones, but you can use it as a signal vote where you could just check it like a temperature check to see where the students are. So technically, it has no actual voting power in the DAO, but the DAO can check, what the students actually request. But then again, like, do you want to listen to hormonal teenagers? That's a whole nother question you have to ask yourself personally, because I was a hormonal teenager, just like every kid is when they're in high school. And it's probably, I don't know if they really should be choosing the curriculum, but we do need an overhaul. I mean, we basically pump out a bunch of people who are not ready for the world, right? So,
yeah, there's a couple kids who are worthy of being on the school board themselves, and a couple that you just take it with a grain of salt because the answer to everything is 69.
Yeah.
So yeah, but I like the idea what you call the temperature check, because we want our students' voices to be heard by everyone, and visually seeing that so easily would be great.
Yeah, and you know what? Like, you don't necessarily need blockchain for these things. If you are, it could be an interesting school project just for transparency and getting the kids involved in development. Because you can, we've got a partnership with a city municipality here in Israel where the students, it's a technical high school, so they learn coding, and the kids are actually going to be building dApps for the municipality to kind of, improve the city, because it's on the poorer side of Tel Aviv. It's like a subsection neighborhood city of Tel Aviv, like a mini city, town within Tel Aviv, sort of suburb. And so it's got an older population and a very young population, but there's really not much commerce going on there. And so you've got these like technical kids, a heavy Eastern European population, so they're quite quite interested in development, and they're actually working on building different like kind of like mini dApps for the city. So you can have even the kids learn how to build it in their schools. But if you ask their kids like what you want them to, what should be on the curriculum, I'm pretty sure everyone's going to say, like sex ed, and nothing to do with like, how do I take care of my taxes?
You'd be surprised when kids are given a little bit of buy-in to how they achieve outcomes. They come up with some pretty unique, creative things, because they are affected, because they are going to have to go through it. So when you give them a little bit of trust, they actually end up building a system that's better and stricter than what you would normally.
Yeah, I do hear that. I mean, you do, especially if you don't show necessarily by default like who voted for what. You'll get your people who say like, yeah, like, we should have a class on 69, and then yes, that's dumb. But you will get a lot of people who actually contribute normally, and they won't feel afraid to talk up about those ideas.
Well, thanks again for fielding my very vague yet specific questions about education.
No worries, but pay attention to the field. I'm sure there's a bunch of stuff that's going to pop up on education using blockchain.
Yeah, I'm spotting them around, and I'm trying to dive into them now. So there's a few that I'm looking at, but I'm not super familiar with this DAO structure, and a lot of the tech terms they're not in my lexicon yet, really.
Yeah, look, if you send me a DM to my personal Twitter account, I'll just like keep it in mind, and when we go public with like the program of what's going to happen with the suburb, I can shoot it over to you so you can take a look at it.
I love that. And that's the Mavryk account, or is that a Titan?
So Mavryk is the banking ecosystem that we're building. Alex
Okay.
Davis is my personal account. If you go to Mavryk and search for like Alex Davis, essentially you'll see me there.
I'm in your Discord because I'm friends with Shauna from Decentralife, who's super motivating and inspiring. So, Mavryk, cool. I'll be in touch.
Or ping me on Discord. That works too. I'm the Mavericks
Cool.
captain there. So.
Oh, awesome.
Hard to miss.
Thanks.
Hey, Jacob, I see you up here. How you doing?
What's up, Matt? I just wanted to know, how could we invest in Maverick? It sounds like it's a great thing you guys are doing.
For starters, thank you. I appreciate the words and the interest. For the most part, our private sale is sold out. We've got some space left that we're collaborating with on some centralized exchanges, because the centralized exchanges also do invest in these platforms that they list. We're going to be doing a public token sale in mid-June, right at the same time. So by the way, when we do the public token sale, we're launching the platform as well. We're not launching a token and then 6 to 12 months later the community gets pissed as fuck and they're like, when are you launching this? So that's something I really wanted to avoid doing. So I held off our investors and holding them back from being like, listen, launch the token then the protocol. So we're gonna be launching the protocol and the token together. So mid-June, follow us on Discord, follow us on Twitter, stay in touch. We're going to be doing a public treasury sale. So when you buy our tokens, your contributions won't be going to us as a development team. It'll be going to the DAO's treasury. So it's particularly interesting in that route, because it's essentially now a funded banking system, right? And the money that we raise privately will be used for development, as we're a centralized development team. Other development teams can actually contribute to Mavryk and ask the treasury for funds, interestingly enough. So it doesn't have to be limited to us building Mavryk. But in mid-June, you'll be able to participate in our public token sale, and that's the way to go to invest in Mavryk right now.
Nice. Can't wait. Sounds great.
Well, thank you. Welcome aboard.
Yeah, that was a great question, Jacob. Yeah, I think, do we have anyone else in there with a question to speak? Not yet. This is awesome, though. I really loved having you on here. And being able to talk about, not only just Maverick, offense and everything, everything else. Like you're saying, it's an AMA, so literally ask anything. We touched on a lot of interesting subjects today.
Yeah, it's about giving the people what they want and are curious about. A lot of people, it doesn't need to be a gated community, right? It's there's different people are interested in banking, people are interested in DAOs, people are interested in oracles or on-chain treasury. Everybody, or NFTs. Everybody's kind of got their own little. If all of us were exactly the same, we wouldn't need politics, we wouldn't need opinions, we wouldn't need different economic models or educational systems. So why limit our conversations to just one subject? Yeah, we should stay on point for 80 to 90%, but we can definitely deviate, right? It makes it more interesting.
100%. That's why it's so great having DAOs. It's like the voting system, because like you said, we're not all the same. So it's nice having all the different different types of opinions and suggestions.
So yeah, is everybody? Have you guys all got your questions out? Because
you mean like Homer and Real Estate
well,
Jack?
I was opening it up for everybody, but I think the likelihood was that they would ask. So
yeah, it looks like. I think we pretty much asked almost everything.
Yeah, it does. It's been a great session, guys. Honestly, thank you for being here, everybody. I really look forward to when we launch. You're going to see our marketing ramp up pretty quickly through the month of May. Rolling up for our launch, and we really look forward to build it. We look forward to building a better economic system. So it's I'm excited. I'm actually really excited. I'm a lot more excited than 12:30 at night on 3 hours of sleep allows me to be with my voice, but I'm very excited.
And it looks like we actually do have another question. Ilias?
Yeah, hey guys. Yeah, it's not one question. Just want to know, what's the total supply and circulation supply that will be at the start from Mavryk itself?
Ilias, you can't DM me this. We are talking on Telegram all the time.
I just thought it's maybe an interesting question because I popped in later and I didn't know if this question was already been dealt with.
No, we didn't discuss it yet. The circulating supply, we haven't publicly announced it yet. We will be publishing it along with our documentation. What is it? We have a couple things to work out with the centralized exchanges that we're talking to, because we have a certain parameter of it for, reserved for liquidity. And so, especially at the outset, if you have an extra, 1.75% liquid on day one, it obviously makes a big percentage difference of what's liquid on day one, in terms of like the total circulating supply at Genesis. So, it's it really depends on what happens with those liquidity provisions that we have cast aside for, for that to work. So, it's low. It's not the lowest of all token platforms, but it is distributed over a long period of time. So, distribution is over 20, the investors are 16 to 24 months, but a lot of actually, I think like 50+% of the tokens are distributed over 5 years. So it's, the Oracle rewards, the DAO treasury, the council treasury, those are over 60 months. So other platforms tend to have extremely low circulating supplies on day one, but then like 3 months in, and all of a sudden you're like, some of the original investors got 15% unlocks at Genesis, and for the first like 3 months, and then you've got like a 6-month cliff for the team, and then all of a sudden they get 20% of their tokens. So like with Mavryk, it's very linear. I can go into this more a little bit privately, but it's we'll be publishing it before launch, so that will be public. But I feel more comfortable publicly thinking about finalized numbers when the finalized numbers are final. But for example, just as, like, what I can talk about is that the Oracle rewards were playing with distribution over 60 to 120 months, and that's 30% of the token allocation. It's the Oracle and Farm rewards. The DAO treasury, which is 10% of the tokens are going towards the satellite DAO, and the DAO's treasury contract, sorry, and those are distributed over 60 months. The kind of like software development team reserve, it's in a multi-sig contract actually, is over 60 months. The team is 24 months. The investors are 16 to 24, depending on the stages. But of course, Elias, you already know that.
Yeah,
you sly little devil. But it's really the liquidity. It's really the liquidity portion. So if you look at our tokenomics, our updated tokenomics are about to go live this week. And you'll see that there's basically 4% for the public sale and liquidity. So 2% is actually for the public sale. And 1.75% is liquidity. If you want to like the numbers and get off of the like rounding, because you're not going to put decimals for the whole thing. So that 1.7% makes a difference in the circulating supply. And when I have those final numbers, you'll know.
Yeah, no, sure. Thanks for the clear answer. I'm
already. Yeah, I like not I like to talk about things that are final when they are.
Yeah, no. I totally understand your approach, and it's also like a delightful approach that you're also gonna have a fully working product instead of, like, as you said, like just tokens on the market and then a year later the product is there.
Yeah, look, I also co-founded a investment company and VC, and so one of these things we see all these like kind of someone just knock on my door at midnight. Guys, I'm sorry. I'm going to put you on mute for 1 second because it's 12:30 at night and someone knocked on my door. So, Sam, take the reins if I die.
Nice. Been looking forward to this day for a while.
Is you at the door?
No. Okay, so regarding all of the tokenomics, that we have that on our landing site. We're actually putting up a new landing site in the next couple of days. It's going to be totally revamped, much better design, and updated and more current tokenomics. But the total supply that there will ever be over the lifetime of Mavryk is somewhere around 1 billion.
Hold on. Got to chime in here. We are, well, one, I'm not dead. Someone sent a burger to our house, which I probably should have accepted, but I think it belongs to the college students and the other entrants in our building. So The total supply is capped at 1 billion. However, because it's a DAO and we need to build in, the governance needs to have choices. So the total supply is capped at 1 billion. There are other protocols, like for example, Uniswap, which after their total distribution is circulating, they have a inflation mechanism that kicks in. We do not have an inflation mechanism that kicks in, but after 98% of the tokens are in circulation, so 980 million tokens, you're looking at least 5 to 7 years down the line. The DAO gets the technical ability to vote on implementing inflation in order to continue incentivizing the Oracle. So it kind of will transition to a full proof of stake type model with inflation rewards like Tezos or Cosmos or Solana, Algorand, Avalanche, etc. It's not built in to be that way. It's hard capped to 1 billion, and that technical ability only opens up after 98% is released. And again, it doesn't have to happen. That we would need to have a majority quorum of the token holders in order to implement inflation. So it's if the vast majority of people want it, then it shouldn't be a problem, right? But that's not something that we should be able to decide and dictate now, because we shouldn't get to 20% of the tokens are circulating and we're like, you know what, like we said it was 1 billion to our investors in the beginning, but fuck it, we're gonna go print 25% inflation on top of the billion. So that is something that once the tokens are dramatically over distributed, the overwhelming majority, 98%, the total community can vote if they want inflation or not.
Yeah, okay, clear.
Elias, it's actually something that's pretty new. We built that function in just to give the ability of the DAO to choose. Because if we don't build in the ability for them to vote on it, they will never have the capability of voting on it down.
Yeah,
unless
no.
they completely swap out the content.
Yeah, but it's pretty interesting. It's very interesting to see that the project is so evolving already from what I've saw until now.
It's been pretty cool to see some of our early investors hop into these AMAs, honestly, or different, conversations we're having. It's quite nice. I've been blessed with a great team, with great advisors, great investors, and so it's been
like a lot of new investors that are not exposed to Tezos. I mean, for example, I was never exposed to it, honestly, until I found Mavryk, and that's my first step into the Tezos ecosystem in general.
Yeah, and I've seen you kind of hopping in and listen to our little AMAs here and there, but I'm really glad. I have to say blessed. None of this is luck. I think they asked Baron Rothschild if he can go back and be even more intelligent or have better luck and do it all over again. He said I'd take luck. So
yeah, no, but like I said, it's a very interesting project in my opinion. That's why I'm following it up sometimes or join or pop in those calls. Just interesting to hear you guys speak, because it's not all about Mavryk. It's also some about other projects that are on Tezos or how the Tezos ecosystem works. So that's very interesting to learn from you guys.
Well, thank you. I'm glad to bring more people over to Tezos and be a light onto others. Quite honestly, it's I definitely don't want to become a Charles Hoskinson type founder. So yeah.
No, but as I said, it's just a very interesting path that Tezos is taking now, and that what you guys are building on it sounds pretty promising in general.
Yeah. I definitely hope that Mavryk success brings up the price of Tezos. That is definitely something that I think we're all hoping for. So
yeah, it should be in the long run.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is also my first experience, hearing about just doing a bit more of a deeper dive into Tezos. So I'm really excited to learn more about this as I do more of a deeper dive on Mavryk, next few weeks and days.
Yeah, Matt, like I said, you're dive into that light paper. I mean, the beginning of it is really our light paper. I have to say, it wasn't as professional right at the beginning, and then we had a professional copy edit from the crew over at Nomadic Labs from a PhD there, and then it became super professional. But then it also kind of got a little out of touch with kind of trying to explain what we're doing, and not out of touch. I would say, I'm sorry. It got a little too technical for people who aren't crypto-esque. And part of what I want to do is bring in a lot of non-crypto people. So we've got a series of Medium blogs that are coming that are coming out, so you'll be able to read it into it as well. But if you read our light paper, you can kind of skip the parts of the algorithmic stablecoin because it's only one of our lending products that we're launching with. It just happens to be our first one, and skip right to the parts about like governance and satellites and stuff like that. And we'll also be updating that as well with updates that we've had since we started building. But again, like I said, if you want any connections into the Tezos ecosystem, connections to other DeFi platforms, NFT platforms, ecosystem partners, or whatever, DM me and I'll make over, like the intro so you can dive in and talk to these people with like a warm introduction.
No, I definitely would. I'm definitely going to be DMing you as soon as this is over about that. I definitely appreciate that. And but yeah, no, I am really. I also have checked out your light paper. I do appreciate how like it's written in English, which makes sense. This is good because a lot of light papers out there is just it's all technical and like like you said, if you don't know, if you're not huge into crypto, it's not going to help onboard people into the space. It's just going to keep the same flow going on. And that's that can only last for so long. So it's great that you're onboarding new people into the space as well and getting new money and just new bringing some just knowledge involved into this space.
And that's part of the whole thing. I mean, like Simon Sinek has this whole bit. I don't know if the actual research is attributed to him, but he's got this whole bit. If you look him up on YouTube, about how like it's about adoption of technology or really anything, and you get like your early adopters, or the innovators, and like the first the first people in, the guys who waited in line for the iPhone right when it came out. That might have actually been his example, but and then you get like another group, which is like the early adopters, and then they're the people who like see other kind of trying it out and like like, oh, you know what, like I saw these other people kind of like these like these like small subsect of people trying something, so I'm gonna try it. Then you get like the late adopters who are kind of see the early adopters try it out. It's this like larger percentage of people, and then there's this chasm between, I think it's up to 13% of the population is there, the innovators, the early adopters, and the late adopters. And then you get the early majority, and in order to get from like the late adopters to the early majority, there's this like chasm that you have to cross. So like crossing the chasm, and that's really when things go mainstream. And so it then you get like that early majority, and then you get the late majority, and then you get the laggards. And he explains like laggards are the people who are still using fax machines and like touch-tone telephones. But like in order to get from that late majority to the early majority, it takes a tremendous amount of effort in explaining your product and people having to buy into it and bring over more people. So yes, we are going to be able to get the Tezos ecosystem involved in what we're doing, but we also need to go and bring in the Solana ecosystem, the ETH ecosystem. But that's even not there. I wouldn't even call that crossing the chasm, because you can always get like 100 people in your ecosystem, in like your potential kind of user base, but you only get 5. You get 5%. Great. You got 5%, but you might be doing great business, but it's huge. You didn't go mainstream, right? You're still doing business and you might be millionaire off of it, or your business might be thriving like crazy, but you didn't take off. And so you have to cross that chasm. And so that crossing the chasm really is onboarding new people into crypto. And so what we really want to be is, we're talking to different companies about, issuing a crypto debit card as well, which we would be an early entrant into. Usually the powerhouses are doing that. So you could spend your USDM not just to like leverage your position, but also swipe it in Starbucks. We're trying to make it as easy as possible for satellites to operate. We want to make it as easy as possible for users to earn by just owning their MVK, by staking their MVK, and also getting in touch with like the non-crypto world. We have tons of people who, like, oh, we don't know anything about crypto, and we like have, we've got like articles set up on like how to even set up a Tezos wallet. I've sent Tezos to people just so that they can play around. 100 million people using crypto is nowhere near what the world should be at if it's going to, it sounds like a lot to us, but it's 0.1 out of 7. I'm going to do like a quick piece of math here because on my cell phone, but let's call the world population 7.5 billion. It's 1.3% of the world population. It's a drop in the bucket, 100 million people. So we really need to onboard more users simply in general. And I think giving them access to tokenized securities and then loans in those tokenized securities, so that if you take home $100 that you can actually put into a savings account, now you can put that into a piece of real estate that'll earn for you, and then take a loan against that real estate, and you can start actually compounding your wealth as a student rather than when you're 35 or 40 and your student loans are paid off. And that's going to be where like you democratize access to the world. I kind of went on a rant there. I'm really sorry. I got a bit excited about these things. So
No, I mean, it's the future. It really is. And it really is exciting. I mean, especially when, like we're so heavily involved with it, in the space, and hear about it all the time. Where most people, like, they might hear from it like from their one friend, like, like us every once in a while. But like, it is really, there's just so much involved with it, and there's just so much to talk about, as far as all that's involved. I know it's late for you there. I feel bad keeping you up this whole time.
It's fine. It's an AMA. I live, breathe, sweat, dream, cry, everything we're doing. So, it's if no one has any more questions, yeah, I'll hop off, jump in the shower, go to bed, and head back into the office in the morning. If no one else has any questions, then I'll see you at our next AMA. Thank you for being here for so long. Some of you guys have seen me here for, geez, quite a long time. Matt, it's a pleasure meeting you,
Yeah,
honestly. So we should keep in touch.
I definitely would love to do another one of these down the line. Different time to get some other people who are different time zones involved.
Hey,
And
I'm sorry, I just came in last minute. I just had a question. Is this working? I mean, can I use Maverick Finance right now, or do I have to wait for some time?
So we're launching in
Oh,
June.
in June. Oh,
Our
okay.
our core protocol and public sale will be launching in June together.
Okay.
So you can get in, you can buy MVK
Oh,
during the public sale, or take a loan
okay.
if you want to do that as a user.
Yeah, I was just checking
operate
on the
satellite.
site, the site on Twitter. I didn't see anything over there, so just asking.
Yeah, we're as soon as we kind of nail down what we're going to be doing with the centralized exchanges, then we're going to kind of ramp up the marketing play on announcing that. Right now, we're just saying mid-June.
Okay.
As soon as we solidify we're talking to multiple centralized exchanges.
Okay.
So, again, I like to under promise and over deliver rather than over promise and under deliver. So
Yeah, that's good. Good. Thank you.
you're welcome.
that was a great question. Launching and doing. For now, people can still. I would check out your Twitter page and then go check out that Discord you guys got going on there, and just so you can get more involved in the community and see what not only Tezos but Mavryk is all about.
Yeah, and that's actually, we never got into it, but that's why we named it Maverick. I mean, it's to think different in this entire banking ecosystem. I mean, I've got friends who are buying treasury bonds, and it kills me because they think they're making money, but in the end they're just losing more quickly, slightly less quickly than just holding their cash. I mean, I don't even understand the point of a treasury bond if you're not putting in $100 billion. But it is what it is. So anyways, that's why we call it Maverick. It's to think and to be different. It started from a Texas rancher who refused to brand his cattle in order to not hurt his animals. And so it turned into the saying of to being different and independent, and to think differently from the crowd. Coincidentally, the second Top Gun movie is coming out like maybe a month before our launch. So it's that's kind of nice. So
yeah, I love that. I mean, that's what this whole space is about. And it seems like you guys definitely have figured it out. As far as Web3 and decentralization, blockchain, and all that. Like this is definitely the DAO system. All this stuff definitely is the future, and I'm really excited about just Tezos and the future of Mavryk.
Yeah, thank you. It's fun. It's exciting. I will definitely be a lot more relieved personally after we launch. The anxiety will go down, and I might take a weekend off and go somewhere with the girlfriend. But until then, it's heads down, banging out work until we get out there. So everybody, thank you so much for being here. Matt, thank you for hosting and bringing your community to us as well, and our Tezos community to you. And I look forward to doing more of these and being in touch.
Yeah, for sure. I would love to do like a pre-launch one. Get some last-minute investors involved.
That would be wonderful. Well, as soon as we get that launch, we'll DM you.
Yeah, sounds good. So everyone, thank you for joining. I actually I have another space coming up in like an hour, so 7 p.m. If y'all are interested, is a free NFT mint. You have to pay gas. It's from Alan, the NFT guy. I don't know if y'all are familiar with him, but he's pretty big in the NFT space. He's just trying to give back to his community, but also just to the space in general by creating a free NFT with really good art to help onboard people into the space. It's all about teaching people. It's a DAO. So we'll be just talking about that, and then on Monday, May 2nd, 7 p.m. Eastern, I'll be hosting Matt West. He's a scientist. He is running for Congress, actually. He's using an NFT project to help fund his campaign to help fight, the billionaires who are trying to buy campaigns. I don't want to get too political, but so we'll be discussing all that with him and how NFTs can translate into politics, and just kind of like what Mavryk is doing, creating a decentralized bank. It's just like, what else can the blockchain technology and smart contracts and all this do for the future. This is really interesting. So we'll be discussing all that. So I did definitely appreciate everyone for tuning in, and of course for having you come on. And we definitely will be doing a lot more of these, I hope, in the future. And I'm excited to just get more heavily involved in just the Tezos and Mavryk as well. Yeah.